Welcome everyone to Comics from the Multiverse, episode 483. I am Peter, and joining me as always is Matt.
Hey, what's cracking?
This is a DC Comics podcast. We get together and talk about the books we read this week. Coming up on today's show, it's a hefty list because there's still some catch-up books from week one that we didn't, have an episode for. So brace yourself for this. But we have today Superman Unlimited issue 7, Wonder Woman 27, Absolute Flash issue 9, Nightwing 123, Justice League Red issue 4, Batman Superman World's Finest 45, The New Gods issue 12, Batman issue 3, Batgirl 13, Absolute Green Lantern issue 8, Birds of Prey 27, and a couple of Patreon books. Both me and Matt will be talking about Green Arrow 21, and I'll be talking about Gideon Falls issue 5. Oh, it's a big list. It's a big list of books. This is what happens when we have to take a week off randomly for some reason. There's still a couple to get to as well, which we'll do next week as well. So don't worry, nothing's been forgotten about or left behind. Just sort of spread evenly throughout the month. I am very much looking forward to December, though, just so that we don't have these extra, 3 or 4 books every week. That will be delightful. But hey, also, solicits are a thing today. So I just saw the light in Matt's eyes die a little bit as I said that.
Justice Coach.
But that's fine. That's
Justice
fine.
Coach.
We knew it was going to be a gauntlet coming in today, so we're braced for it.
Well, I get done today, and I get to watch the AEW pay-per-view. So
that's nice.
We're good. Yeah, you got Samoa Joe versus Hangman in a cage for the title. So, Samoa Joe and cage matches go together like chocolate and peanut butter. So I'm very excited.
I like lamb and tuna fish.
Yeah, like lamb and tuna fish. Spaghetti meatball.
No, spaghetti and meatball does actually go together, to be fair. I get that's the example in Big Daddy they give afterwards to correct him, but I just,
Well, he goes, oh, sorry, you're not comfortable with spaghetti and meatball?
Yeah.
The last time I could like that actor.
I'm quoting Rob Schneider from an Adam Sandler movie. What have I become? That was Rob Schneider, right?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, it's okay. It's been a long time. I've not seen Big Daddy in like 20 years, right? It's been a long... For some reason, lamb and tuna fish has stuck in my brain for 20 years. The
one that stuck with me is Hip Hop Anonymous. And then he gets mad because he gave the little kid all the easy words to read. And it gets me. So, Hip Hop Anonymous.
It's very good. Yeah, a big busy week this week, but stuff going on, solicits to talk about. So we won't dilly-dally because we do have a lot of books and we got solicits, so we'll get pretty much straight into the things. I don't think there was anything DC related that I did this week. I mean, I know we don't sometimes ramble about movies or whatever. We'll have that back next month. That we'll be back to talking about nonsense.
Yeah, we gotta play catch up. Just I don't know if I talked about it. I finished Peacemaker, so that's my DC thing.
Oh, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Went to places I didn't think it was gonna go. With the name of the place that they end up at, I was like, oh, I recognize that. I don't want to spoil it for people.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Oh, actually, I do have one quick thing to say. The new Running Man was really bad, and Matt is a fool for liking it. That's all I'm just going to throw out there before we get into everything else.
I thought it was fine.
You gave it 8 out of 10. That's not fine. That's great.
I gave it a 4 out of 5.
Yeah, which is 8 out of 10.
I was entertained. I don't know what to tell you.
It's really mediocre, and then the ending's really bad. Like that's
the ending. The ending is the thing that I had the biggest problem with.
Yeah.
So
the last 10 minutes are like just how not to end your movie. the lesson.
It's a lot. No, but I had a good time. I have to learn not to rate things until the next day, though, for sure.
Oh, so you're retracting the 8 out of 10?
I'm not gonna retract it, but upon thinking about the ending and some of the other elements, it might have not been a 4. It might have been a 3.5. But
I'm just saying your credibility's down the toilet. I'm hearing that the word on the street says is that you're cooked. So
if you listen to me for anything, that's on you. I have a very particular taste.
I'm just saying, if you want to save your reputation, right? Like a president caught in a sex scandal, you need to get on the screens. You need to start apologizing and denouncing fellatio and whatever else will get you out of trouble.
No. I'm not gonna apologize for Glenn Powell. All right, you're also talking to the guy that loved Twisters way too much.
I mean, Twisters was better than Running Man.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that was my favorite, the second favorite movie of the year last year.
Oh, that's a bit. That's too high. That's
yeah. Connor slide messaged me. He goes, if I didn't know you were straight edge, I would ask if you were high. So but yes. That said, I did like the Running Man when I watched it with adult eyes, the Arnold one.
Oh, the other one's great. The other one is a silly, cheesy movie, but it's trying to be a silly, cheesy movie, and it's very good at being a silly, cheesy movie. The new one doesn't know what tone it wants. It wants to be serious one minute and be funny and lighthearted. Hey, this could be a Chris Pratt movie the next. Yeah.
One of the film shows I listened to said that they wanted to make you laugh and then feel bad for laughing. That's almost seemed like what Edgar Wright was going for.
Edgar Wright,
which is not a good, good place to be.
Yeah, Edgar Wright's not made a good movie in a long time. I'm straight up saying it. He's like the last movie. I mean, he made a good movie in Shaun of the Dead. He made a great movie in Hot Fuzz, and then World's End was just okay. I am in the minority on Scott Pilgrim. People love that movie. I don't like it very much. Maybe that's more of a taste thing, but I definitely do not like Baby Driver, and I really, really didn't like Last Night in Soho. I really don't like his Running Man. He he's not a name that I get excited for anymore. Now he's a name that I'm like, maybe Simon Pegg should co-write the scripts with you again, because clearly we're having some trouble here.
Gotcha.
Anyway, I wanted to grill Matt for his bad rating of
that's fine. That means
movie.
Pete's paying attention to my letterbox, which makes me feel happy.
I actually didn't. The reason why I know is because I was recording with Connor this week, and Connor brought up that our ratings for Running Man were so different, and said he knew how he would feel about it based on what my rating was and what your rating was.
Yeah. So it's good to know,
So yeah.
That said, he's more of a Scott Pilgrim guy like I am too. So I don't know where he is with the rest of Edgar Wright's though. I don't know if he liked his last ones more than you did.
I don't know. Yeah. But he has awful opinions all the time, so it's hard to predict.
He does.
Anyway, let's get into things.
Do we know if Connor saw it? I'm gonna have to look.
No, he's not. He's not seen it.
He hasn't seen it. Okay.
No. He's not going to the theaters to see it. I can tell you that right now. Right, but let's get on with things.
That is. I was gonna say.
Jesus Christ, Matt! For the fourth time, let's get on with things. We have the Kindle rankings, the list formerly known as the ComiXology top 10. We'll have a quick look at that before we get into everything else. Matt, you got a guess for which ranking at the top of the list as of right now?
Now, we don't think that the DC, Marvel, Batman, Deadpool came out digitally?
I'm confident it didn't.
Okay, so I'm not going to guess that then. So then I'm going to go with Absolute Flash.
That is incorrect.
Okay, then I'm going to go with Ultimates.
That is also incorrect.
Wow. Is it Nightwing?
Nope, that's very incorrect.
Wow, all right. Three swings, 3 misses. What we got?
One World Under Doom.
Oh, man. Okay, that's a thing.
It's a Marvel thing. Number 2 is Ultimates. Number 3 is Absolute Flash. 4 is X-Men Book of Revelation. 5 is Wonder Woman. 6 is Unbreakable X-Men. 7 is Captain America. 8 is World's Finest. 9 is New Gods. And 10 is Lazarus Fallen. Outside of the top 10, Titans is at 11. Nightwing's at 14. Just League Red's at 15. Superman Unlimited is at 17. So yeah, that's just the spread of all the main DC books. Yeah, Nightwing was a bit of a weird guess because Nightwing, I don't think it's been in the top 10 most of its weeks for a while.
No, I just guessed because looking at League of Comic Geeks, it comes up on theirs real high. So
hey, maybe there's more physical buyers, and that's why it's ranking higher on there.
Yep,
that's entirely possible. So yeah, I don't have any real hot take. Obviously, I wish Nightwing was higher on the list because I think it's one of the best books this week. But that's other than that, I have not too much to say about the rankings. Mainly because I have no idea what half of this Marvel shit is, if I'm being entirely honest. But that's okay. My life is more fulfilled because of it. So we can get into the solicitations. This is the February solicits for DC Comics. We know that the first batch of Vertigo books are going to be in here. In fact, I think that's what's kicking this solicits off by the looks of it. So, look for that. I haven't looked ahead, though. I don't know what's in here, but we'll find out. It'll be a journey of discovery. So, first up, we have Nice House by the Sea, issue 7. So this is just returning, of course, from its mid-book break, which, we expected.
And now it has the Vertigo banner on the side.
I don't think we expected it to come back with a wave of Vertigo relaunch books. We just expected, it'll still be Black Label, and that's just all it is now. But no, there you go. So obviously we're excited for that because that book's very good. One of the first Vertigo books we've got here is Bleeding Hearts, issue 1 by Dennis Camp and art by Stepan Morain, I might guess. Obviously, Camp has been doing Absolute Martian Manhunter, and that has been phenomenal. So this gets an instant checkout kind of pass, I think. It's it's definitely looks like it's going for a light-hearted zombie kind of vibe based on the cover. Maybe I should read the descriptions of these new number ones. The zombies won, and 10 years after the fall of humanity, they're the dominant form of life, or not life, on Earth. They've developed their own cultural practices, their own language, their own society. Mouse pokes golf balls through hole in head, poke for short, is a beloved member of his community. So that's the guy's name. Very good. And with his brother-in-arm, Mush, he's happy to shamble along through the only world he can remember until the day his heart mysteriously starts beating again, and in a blink, the first humans he sees have stopped looking like food and start looking like friends. So this is going for like a... It's almost
like a reverse zombie.
Well, yeah, but it's almost like a Planet of the Apes style thing, where the apes have taken over, but now an ape's starting to turn into a human and now sees the other humans as relatable. None of that happens in Planet of the Apes, but I'm just in the sense that there's this new society that's completely formed where they're kind of intelligent. So yeah, you get the sort of thing that it's going for. So it's neat. There you go.
Yeah.
So that's that, and then next up we have End of Life issue 1, written by Kyle Starks and art by Steve Pugh. Immediate thoughts? No.
No, this is the actiony kind of one. I remember when they got announced.
Yeah, I mean the cover is very kind of action movie poster. Dude's got sunglasses and whatnot. I'm trying
to blank on his name, but he did the Human Target art.
Smallwood. Yeah.
It's very Smallwood-esque on this cover.
Yeah. Gerald Perel apparently is the cover artist according to the solicit here. Professional hitman Eddie Stallion has messed up. He's accidentally robbed the Raven, a high-ranking boss of the international cabal of assassins of the Menagerie, of which Eddie is a member, or he was. There's a lot of ellipses in these descriptions.
Yes.
Now, with a price on his head, Eddie chooses to hide on the one place everyone knows he'd never go, the small Midwestern town of Pluto, home of his estranged father and known hard-ass George Stallion. Looking for a safe harbor, Eddie instead finds his resentful father dying of cancer, old friends looking to collect that bounty, menagerie assassins who have wandered into town, a cancelled newspaper comic strip creator turned into local crime lord, and oh yeah, his childhood first love too. So this assassin goes back to town, small town America, basically, and bubble up till action.
It's like Doc Hollywood meets John Wick.
I've never seen Doc Hollywood, so I don't get that reference.
Yeah. Have you seen Cars?
No.
Okay. Well, then they're over too, because they're basically the same movie, just with anthropomorphic cars in the Pixar one.
Instead of a doctor, I assume?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yep.
I'll take your word for it. Very good. Yeah, I don't know what to make of that one, to be honest. I mean, the cover's cool, so I mean, I'm down to try it, but...
It almost seems like a criminal book, like Brubaker and I'm not good with names today, but that team Phillips. Yeah, it almost seems like one of the criminal stories. So I'm definitely there for that one.
All right, next up we got The Peril of the Brutal Dark, an Ezra Kane mystery. So this is the Chris Condon written book with Jacob Phillips on art. So Chris Condon's doing this Green Arrow run that's currently going. So that's a point in its favor for wanting to check this out for sure. Here's the description. New York City, 1941. Ezra Kane is a private investigator with a reputation for taking it on the chin if it means solving a case. But his former life as an archaeology student that makes him the only man to track down an artifact that's gone missing from the Museum of Natural History. An ancient anvil said to hold the power of the Greek god Hephaestus. Did I say that right?
Hephaestus.
Yep. If someone could harness that power, they could bend nations to... I almost said notions. They could bend nations to their will. Science fiction quickly becomes Kane's reality when a shadowy sect calling themselves the Brutal Dark appears in the city, wielding resources that defy human logic. Now, Ezra is the only thing that stands between them and their plot to overthrow America. I have to imagine this sounds like your thing.
If I don't like this, I'll pay you $5.
Oh, that's up it. This makes us a big bet.
Yeah, if I don't like it, I'll give you $15.
As soon as they said he's tracking down an artifact from the Natural History Museum, I'm like, oh god, this is Matt's. This is like noir meets Indiana Jones. There's no way he's not going to love this.
Yeah, and speaking of Phillips, it's Jacob Phillips, who's Sean Phillips' son.
Oh, really?
He's an artist in his own right. Yeah, very similar style. But yeah, reteaming with Chris Condon, who they had a I want to say it was a Western book called it's right here, That Texas Blood and the Enfield Gang Massacre. So yeah, I will pay Pete $15 if I don't like this.
I'm hoping it sucks. I want my money. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously, yeah, that was good. The cover's cool as well. 1941. It does also make me wonder if this means they're planning on, like, a second book that's also an Ezra Kane mystery, and they can keep saying an Ezra Kane mystery is kind of the through line. But hey,
it gives it that pulp novel kind of vibe with there on there.
Sure.
Cool.
So that's your Vertigo section out of the way. So into the rest of the mainline DC stuff. DC KO issue 4. And there seems to be some absolute characters on the cover to this one. So we're clearly teasing some shenanigans here. It says they're going to be put up to the absolute test. So no bonus points for guessing what that means. But yeah, cool. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. I mean, we've still only had one issue of KO. It's weird to think about. I feel like we're still lingering, waiting for the second one. Then we have DC KO Boss Battle issue 1. This is Jeremy Adams and Joshua Williamson with art by Carmen Di Giandomenico and Ronan Cliquette. So is this a one shot?
This is that tie-in book where we're gonna get the people from outside of the DCU.
Oh, I see. Homelander. And, is that Sub-Zero?
Yeah, it looks like Sub-Zero. Annabelle's there in what looks like Red Sonja.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is the weird one.
I guess there's a morbid curiosity, if nothing else. I guess that's all I can say about that. DC KO Night Fight issue 4. Burn It With Fire. I don't want to. Although the vote is up, by the way, for patrons to vote on the Patron's Choice for next month, and KO Night Fight issue 2 is on there, and it's looking very competitive currently. So I'm not like, go do the sensible thing and vote for either of the other options. Thank you and kindly, dear patrons. Anyway, that's Night Fight issue 4. Then we have Superman issue 35. Which is a tie-in to KO.
Yeah.
So you got Williamson here with Eddie Barrows on the art, and Barrows is good. I'm not mad at him being on Superman. So that is cool. A couple of nice covers, but it looks of it there as well. We got Justice League Unlimited issue 16, which seems to still be doing the current arc just based on the cover and having read this week's issue already. But yeah, we got Mr. Terrific stuff happening. But yeah, Dan Mora on the art for this one. Just noting that, just in case there's a lot more Dan Mora, because sometimes there is. The Flash issue 30. Still Cantwell and Mark Waid writing this together, so that's cool. We got Titans issue 32, which, you know, more KO tie-in stuff. Still John Layman and Pete Woods continuing their stuff. Then, interestingly, we have Sirens Love Hearts issue 1, which is a $6 book with Tini Hubbard writing and Babs Tarr on the art. This is Harley, Ivy, Catwoman, and Black Canary having a team up of sorts. I think we already knew about this because I feel like Black Canary being on this team was something we already heard because I remember talking about that. So, yeah, there you go. So, yeah, I think they announced this.
I don't remember it being Babs Tarr on the art though. So that's interesting.
I think we just didn't know about it.
Yeah.
Is my guess at the time. Because remember, they had a bunch of titles and they had some descriptions, but some were just a title. Some had a title and maybe a writer. And there was also like a list of writers, but they didn't tell us which books they were on. Remember? There was like a lot of weirdness with how they announced all this next level stuff.
Because we were trying to partner them together, which made the most sense.
Yeah. I don't know if this one counts as next level, actually, because this is, I think technically March is when the first next level books start. I think this is just another book.
Gotcha.
But, yeah. Regardless, it's there if you want it. I can't say I'm jumping at the chance of a Tini Howard book, if I'm honest, but, you know, that's what it is. Absolute Batman issue 17. Absolute Poison Ivy's in this one, so I'm sure Matt's excited and
very excited.
Probably is going to have at least...
cover missing. So I wonder what's going on there.
Well, often they'll say cover redacted if it's an intentional thing. This makes it sound like the regular cover's just not been done yet to me.
That makes sense.
But who knows? Yes, I'm sure Absolute Poison Ivy will give Matt at least a couple of new kinks that he didn't know he had before, if I was to guess.
More than likely.
Yeah. She'll be wearing some kind of, I don't know, weird thing. You'll be, all of a sudden Matt's Googling this outfit. Very good.
If I need to take a break, you guys will know why.
I didn't mean during the show. Hold your load till after, Matt, please. Some professionalism.
Oh, no way.
We got Absolute Wonder Woman issue 17. So that's cool. Looks like we're getting some Giganta based on the cover here, I would guess. Also kind of digging the way they've integrated the logo into the cover on that main cover. I think it's kind of cool. So that's nice. Sherman on art for that one still, so that's cool. We get the Absolute Wonder Woman Annual 2026 issue 1. So this is not a fifth week. I mean, February never has a fifth week because it's too short to have a fifth week. But they're doing an annual, so we're getting a second Kelly Thompson Absolute Wonder Woman issue, so that's cool. Art on this is Matea de Lulis. Experienced in briefly becoming Medusa in order to save Gateway City, changed Diana, not Diana. It haunts her, and she has never stopped seeking an answer from the gods. Her pleas to Athena have gone unanswered until now. If she wants justice, the mission is deadly and uncertain. It's worth the risk just to set one injustice. So I think what's interesting about this is that obviously it's still Kelly Thompson, it's still part of the run, but it seems very one-shotty in terms of it's not going to, it's not the next part of the arc. It's just kind of
right.
So, but the fact that it's Thompson though means it's probably absolutely worth reading for if you're enjoying the book. So, I mean, we'd probably do it anyway, no matter who it was, unless it was like Scott Abdel or someone like that. In which case, it would be like Run for the Hills.
But that name's irrelevant in 2025. So let's not speak it back into existence.
Except in my restless dreams where I still see that face.
Only time I ever stopped reading Superman, guys.
You've had some other bad runs that you've suffered through, that's saying something.
But I kept going. Not that one I tapped out.
Yeah. Absolute Superman issue 16. This is apparently a crucial follow-up to Absolute Evil issue 1, and that was a great one-shot teasing where we're going in the universe. So I am actually very pleased to be to picking up some of those threads in the near future. So excited for that. I am, and that looks like Hawkman of sorts on the cover. So if you read that one-shot, you'll know why that's exciting. So we'll get into that when the time comes. One for Raya on the art is also kind of awesome. Actually, I mean, look, Sandoval's been great, but Fariah is even better. So, like, I'm down for some Fariah issues. Absolute Superman.
Also, if you read that book, if you read the Absolute Evil, Faria being associated with a certain character and then coming to this one with Hawkman is darkly funny. So, you know.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Absolute Martian Manhunter issue 9. Obviously, we're excited to have this back. No, this is the first one back, but we haven't had it back yet in terms of actually getting issues, so I'm still excited to see it in the solicits. But so buzzing for that. Absolute Flash 12 is here as well. Not much to say, although I'm looking at this cover and I'm like, what character is this an absolute version of? I'm not entirely sure, but maybe it's new.
What is that?
It's wait, I mean, those horns are almost like a literal version of the Flash horns. Is this meant to be like monstrous absolute or reverse Flash, maybe?
Maybe. I mean, there is lightning coming out of that hole in the torso. So
what a sentence. What a sentence.
Also, it kind of looks like one of the aliens that we saw in the book, in that flashback issue. So
very interesting, actually.
Yes.
Very interesting. Intrigued, I will say, intrigued. So that is Absolute Flash 12, and there's Absolute Green Lantern issue 11, and obviously we've been digging that. That looks like a certain Tomar Ray on the cover, so I'm curious about that as well. So actually, maybe it isn't. I'm not seeing a beak, but the defending the head definitely looked Tomar Ray, but it just yeah.
I accidentally clicked out of the solicits. Now I'm trying to get my way back in.
That's okay. We'll move on.
So
yeah, out of the Absolute side of things, we're on to Batman issue 6, which, you know, Jorge Jiménez still in the art. Cover looks neat. Obviously looking forward to that. Nightwing 135. Up next, Dexter still in the art and still continuing the run. I mean, it does tease at the end of this solicit. Don't miss the issue that changes Bloodhaven forever. So it sounds like coming out of this arc, maybe there'll be some big stuff happening. So that's kind of cool. See what Waters has got up his sleeve. Then we got Batman and Robin issue 30, which still has Fico Ozzy on art. So that's cool. Yep, we're still doing Quiet Man stuff here, so that's still ticking along nicely. We have Batgirl issue 16. The War of Shadows must end. So yeah, still capping off the arc that we've just kind of started the arc, to be fair. So that makes sense. And then we got Batman Superman World's Finest issue 48. Marcus Toe's on the art for that. Dan Mora didn't have time for 4 books this month, apparently, so he's
slacker.
Yeah, Marcus Toe's doing the art on this issue, so that's fine. We got Catwoman issue 84. Which I like the cover on this one. I mean, it's not like perfect, but I kind of like how the suit looks like it actually has material as opposed to just being like, it's skin tight, but it's skin tight in a more realistic way as opposed to just her skin's been painted the color of the suit kind of thing. Yeah,
it looks like an actual like leather bodysuit.
Yeah, there's ripples and things, and I appreciate that. It's a good bit of detail. Anyway, Poison Ivy 41.
Oh, locked up.
Yes. Honestly, at this point, they're probably need 2 omnibuses to do G. Willow Wilson's run of Poison Ivy. Yeah. It's getting up there in numbers now.
It's going.
We got Harley Quinn 59. So that's ticking along. Detective Comics 1106. I gotta say, I love the mask on that cover. Obviously, we know the story reasons why he's wearing a breather mask as well as his cowl, but it's basically like a Sub-Zero style ninja mask on the bottom half of his face, and it does look kind of cool. Especially with that cracked eye where you can see his eye coming through the mask. It's really neat. So I'm into it. There we go. Action Comics 1095. Speaking of good, interesting covers, this is basically, you know, the pin board with the red strings for the connecting the dots, but the red string makes the Superman logo. It's a really nice, simple idea for a cover, but it's cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, so that's neat. Superman Unlimited issue 10. Got Mike Norton on the art for this one.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Excited about the prankster?
I mean, yeah, Prankster's one of those characters that I don't have a big opinion on, because I can't tell you of any big prankster story that rings a bell. You know?
No, I feel like he's the sort of character that will always show up in the Superman TV shows. They'll always eventually get to an episode where they'll do a prankster episode just because it's an easy thing to do an episode about it. But I don't know if anyone has like a strong, connection to him. Yeah. Next up, we got Superman Chains of Love Special, issue 1. This is Dan Slott and Leah Williams. I assume it's a 48-page book, so I assume that's like a main story and a backup. But yeah. Step aside, Daily Planet. A new news force is taking over Metropolis by storm when the former felon Livewire is released from prison. An unholy alliance and frankly wholesome romance with the Creeper is forged in the fires of a supervillain battle. Oh yeah, Creeper was in was it issue 1 or 2 of Superman Unlimited, so I guess this is Dan Slott continuing some of that stuff. So this is slightly connected to Superman Unlimited. But yeah, interesting one shot, I guess.
and the fact that it's going to be out in February in time for Valentine's Day. I really do like that he's partnering the Creeper with Livewire. Yeah,
but this isn't their 100-page anthology Valentine's special. I think that was solicited for January.
Yeah.
This is something that, I mean, I don't know if it'll be important in the continuity going forward, but it at least seems like it's like, hey, this is something that's happening in the current Superman mythology. Whether it's that important later on, I don't know. Maybe this new news enterprise will be referenced in future issues of Unlimited, so, you know. Yeah. But, hey, cool. We'll give it a try. Supergirl issue 10. It's a Valentine's issue of Supergirl, so cool. Joe Quinones on the art for that one. We got Adventures of Superman, the Book of L, issue 6. I quite like that cover, actually.
Yeah.
Which is black and white, except the Superman logo in the back, which is red.
It's red, yeah. I like the way that it looks.
Yeah. Pretty neat.
It's a cool dynamic.
And we got Wonder Woman issue 30, which has a fill-in writer, seemingly.
Yeah, it looks like it's Stephanie Williams.
Yeah, so the second part of a 2-part tale, so I guess this was also last time as well. So presumably it's back to King and Sampere with issue 31.
Yes.
Because I feel like I'd have heard them talking about the fact that the run's ending if it was ending at 29.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. We'll give that a try. Spokes on art. He did the
Jenny.
I remember Jenny Sparks. That was it. I was trying to remember her last name. Jenny Sparks. He did that book. We got GSA issue 16. Still doing year 1. We'll be checking out the first issue of year 1 next week. That's like one of the few things from week 1 we're still to do. Aquaman 14 is a thing.
There's that Omega symbol again. I bet you it means nothing.
They're teasing it. They keep teasing it. New history of the DC Universe, the Dakota Incident, issue 1.
Oh, wow.
What is this? Spin out of the pages of the new history of DC Universe, uncover an untold moment in DC history where a murder leads to an all-out war between the heroes of Dakota City and the US government. Alright, pause right there. Matt, if I had asked you to name all the fictional cities in DC, would you have ever got to Dakota City?
No, because it's a milestone first.
Is that a milestone thing? Okay.
Yeah, that's where Static's from, right? And I know that because from watching the Static Shock.
Oh, he's on the cover, so I mean, that makes sense.
Well, yeah, but I just remember Dakota being the city, right? And then it was the Big Bang is what gave Static his powers, and you know that was the inciting incident for a lot of the supervillains and whatever. That said, it wouldn't have been in the top 10, you know. So yeah, very very curious. The fact that they're listing it from the new history of the DC universe, right? So like that means Mark Waid put it in there. Because you know we only checked out the first issue of that.
Well, you did that,
and now they're going back and filling in. So
yeah,
what's that?
I didn't read that at all. You must have looked at it.
Oh,
because I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, this is an interesting idea to just go in and slot in like an important like part of the continuity that you want to establish. And looking at the writer teams, I think. I mean, Morgan Hampton's doing the obviously Green Lantern Corps right now.
Corps, yeah.
But I feel like there's actually 4 writers on this book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not. It's definitely
it's 40 pages. So
yeah, we've already brought
that's
up.
a lot.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't sound like the sort of thing that'd have backups, though, right? Is it just 4 writers working together? It might be.
It might be.
Yeah, I don't know. But hey, interesting idea.
Mm-hmm.
Admittedly, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it sounds like a one shot from the title, but if this is like a 3-issue mini, it wouldn't be that surprising either.
Yeah.
You know, I could see that totally being a thing.
I don't know. There seems like there's a lot of stuff in here. If you're gonna do a battle between Dakota City and the U.S. government, I figured you'd have more than 40 pages.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean that. It feels smart if if they're integrating, like more of this milestone stuff into DC Universe proper. It makes sense to try and do something like this where you're trying to kind of establish how it's kind of fit in, previously in the timeline. I can kind of see the logic to this. So, yeah, interesting. I feel kind of like the thing is though is that they've had a couple of these little minis or whatever from like either Static Shock or they've had a couple of one shots about the milestone characters, and because I didn't really know who any of the characters were, I don't think we've really checked any of them out. I wonder if this would be a more fitting place to jump into it because it's going to be more like how it fits into the DCU. Maybe this is a good place to check them out properly for the first time.
Good. Outside of Static, I'm not that familiar. Like I know Icon is kind of Milestone Superman, and then there's Hardware, who's kind of like an Iron Man like character, and they all seem to be on the cover here. So yeah, I wonder if this is meant to be like an introduction to the wider Milestone side of things. So,
yeah, I think the only, other than Static, the only reason why I know any of those names is because they've had like minis at some point in solicitations that I've seen and went, oh, that's the thing. I don't know what that is, and just sort of went about my day. But hey, so that's coming in February. Then we got Green Lantern 32, and the cover's implying something big happening. I won't say what it is, but it's implying something forward momentum. I don't know what to expect from the artist Osvaldo Pestana Montepeller, but I'm curious to find out. So we'll see how his art is when the time comes. Green Lantern Corps issue 13 is coming, and again an artist that I do not recognize. However, only one artist, which I appreciate after the shit show that was the last issue of Green Lantern Corps. But yeah, that's Juan Jose Rip. Bizarre. Funnily enough, the name, the word in that name that I'm the least confident in is the last one, which doesn't sound like it should be the hardest, but I'm not entirely sure if it should. It's just RYP.
Well, yeah, traditionally in Spanish too, the Y takes the I sound, so Rip would be my guess.
Yeah,
as well. So
hey,
know.
I did my best, everyone. Next up, we got Batman Green Arrow: The Question Arcadia issue 3 by Gabriel Hardman. We're looking forward to that starting. It should be interesting. The cover's gorgeous as well, so that's cool. And then this is wild. So David actually told me about this. So Batman Gargoyle of Gotham issue 4 is here, and I think I just assumed it ended with issue 3 because that was like way over a year ago. But apparently there was a final issue still to come that just kept getting pushed back or kept waiting. So here it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I to be fair, the first issue was pretty solid and was very unique. I just kind of forgot. Like, by the time issue 2 came out, because there was such a gap, I'd kind of forgotten what happened in it, so I didn't read issue 2. I am curious to check this out once it's a complete thing. Like, I am genuinely interested in it. It just I just completely forgot what was going on in it. So yeah, there's also a noir edition of that as well. So
you were wondering who that artist is? Osvaldo Pestana Montpeller.
Yeah. And you go.
So I clicked on him and I'm like, oh, they worked on Green Arrow and wait, War Journal? It's Montos.
Oh, it's Montos?
That's his full name.
Oh, they've switched to his full name? Oh, that's funny.
Yes. Because I was like, wow, his art looks a lot like Montos. Okay, that's because it is Montos. So I was It's like, when did he do Green Arrow? I've been reading and then it clicked. And I was like, oh, this is Montos.
That's so funny.
So,
all right. Well, well, in that case, I do love his work. I'm happy.
Yes.
He's on Green Lantern. I love it. I'm looking forward to it.
Yes.
Dear. Probably because he knew dumb people like us wouldn't be able to pronounce his whole name. That's my guess. Next up, we got Batman Static Beyond issue 3. So that's still ticking along. We got the Batman Second Night issue 3. So the final issue of that Black Label book. Excited for more of that soon. And then there's some facsimile editions and reprints and that kind of thing, which I will not go through. We'll just skip down to, well, not the collections quite yet. So I think there's some other books here. Yeah, Gotham Academy First Year issue 5 is solicited here, as is Court Children of the Round Table issue 6, and Teen Titans Go issue 12. So that wraps up the single issues. Out of the collections, we got Wonder Woman Historia, the Amazons Absolute Edition. So they're giving a nice big beefy hardcover version of that if you fancy it. We've got Supergirl's Family Vacation. This is one of the young adult graphic novels by Brandon T. Snyder and art by Sarah Louver. We have Galaxy Volume 2, As the World Falls Down, also a young adult graphic novel by Josiah Axelrod and Rai Hickman. And then we've got collections here, Superman Kryptonite Spectrum hardcover, which is all 5 issues of that. Solicited Batman Dark Patterns. This is all 12 issues and a big softcover.
Okay.
I do think that's deserving of a hardcover, though, if I'm being frank.
I do too.
Yeah, I smell a deluxe.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get the trade of that.
Yeah.
I want that to look nice on my shelf.
Yeah,
you know, like give me a nice bound.
I think there'll be a deluxe in like a year or two. I wouldn't worry about it. Dark Knights of Steel All Winter trade paperback. That may have already had a hardcover, actually. I'm not sure. Birds of Prey Volume 4 On the Run, which is 20 to 28. Which is the last chunk of it, because 28 is next month's final issue. So it's just the last part of Thompson's run. And then we got Batman Gotham by Gaslight, the Kryptonian Age, collecting all of that. Makes sense. There's both a softcover and a hardcover for that. See, that gets a hardcover, but Dark Patterns doesn't. That's a bit weird.
Come on. Yeah.
Justice League Unlimited Volume 2, the Omega Act trade and hardcover. Green Lantern Corps, the Starbreaker Supremacy trade paperback. I don't think you need to do the name/name when it's Green Lantern and Green Lantern Corps. Just call it Green Lantern, the Starbreaker Supremacy. Green Lantern Corps is a Green Lantern book. You don't have to this isn't like Batman and Superman something. This would be like. It would be like if you had Batman and Detective Comics had a crossover, and the trade paperback was Batman / Detective Comics thing. It's clunky.
Yeah, I wonder why they're doing that. Maybe it's a thing with the collections, so Green Lantern Corps still gets credited. I don't know.
That's weird. I don't know. This reeks to me of the Long Halloween, the Last Halloween. That's what this is reeking to me of. Bunch of nonsense. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong 2 hardcover. Green Arrow Volume 5, Crimson Sands, which is 25 to 31, so the second of the half of Condon's run.
Yep.
So that's that. And then there's the Dark Knight Returns Compact Edition, which it might even be a reprint of that, because I feel like that's already had a compact edition. Then we got DC's Finest Dead Man, How Many Times Can a Guy Die?
Ooh.
Yeah. Seems to be a bit of a, you've got a chunk of Strange Adventures, a few issues of Aquaman, some scattered issues of Brave and the Bold, so it's a bit of a scatter shot of all of the, I guess, relevant Dead Man appearances for a time period, so interesting. And then we got DC Universe Bronze Age Omnibus by Jack Kirby, new printing. It's 1,400 pages of Kirby materials, a big dark side on the cover, because of course there is, it's Kirby. So yeah, fun with that. DC's Finest Justice League of America Starro the Conqueror trade. This has got 3 issues of Brave and the Bold and 19 issues of Justice League of America, which is the Silver Age Justice League of America. I mean, Gardner Fox is credited as a writer, so yeah, it must be.
And Carmine Infantino on pencils, so yeah.
Yeah. This is interesting because this is basically a collection of you know, what, like the Silver Age Justice League omnibus, which I don't even know if that exists, but this is probably like 2/3 of that omnibus in trade paperback form. So it's just a slightly different version of doing that. Presumably they'll do, you know, the next batch with a different title, because I don't think Starro's like all 19 of those issues. I think Starro's like the villain at the start of the, you know, the Silver Age Justice League, but he's not 19 issues of them. Yeah. So, okay, cool. DC's finest Western, The Hangman Never Loses. I have never, ever heard of this, so...
So we got Hawk, Firehair, El Diablo, and more. So this is probably like the weird Western tales. Back in the day. Yeah, that's in there, 12 through 17. Tomahawk, DC Supergiant, All-Star Western, so...
Fair enough. Yeah. Batman by Neil Adams, Absolute Edition, Volume 1. So they're doing a new Absolute version of this run, which is, you know, cool. But, yeah. Variety. It's always weird, though, to do, like, an artist collection for me, because, like, it's such a, you know, like, issues missing because they didn't do everything kind of thing. But, hey, if you really like Neil Adams' work, you can get a nice big version of it now. 100 Bullets Book 4, trade paperback, reprint. So that's cool. Animal Man by Tom Veitch and Steve Dillon omnibus. So that's the run that was after Grant Morrison's. So, yeah, I don't know if that's any good or not, but, I mean, they're doing an omnibus. That said, though, they're also doing an omnibus of New 52 Catwoman, so that's not a guarantee of anything quality-related.
True.
Batman Beyond Unlimited Compendium, trade paperback. So... Yeah. 1,200 page trade paperback. That's spine is going to be halved.
That's too much, man.
Batman Sword of Azrael, the deluxe edition by Dennis O'Neil. Then we got Booster Gold, the complete 2007 series, book 3. I appreciate how easy it is to understand that, but I am shocked they called it the complete 2007 series and have that on the cover, because it doesn't sound like the sort of thing they would name it normally. It's actually so easy to understand what it is that I'm surprised they did it.
Yeah, I'm surprised they just didn't call it Booster Gold by Jurgens, because that's what it came to be, right? After Johns left, Jurgens took that book over. And
it's not like they're that concerned if they have to have a little bit of another writer at the start before the main writer took over. Yeah. They'll do that in collections for writers all the time, just so that it's complete. Very strange. Elseworlds Superman Omnibus, Volume 1, hardcover. So this is 1,200 pages of Elseworlds Superman stuff. Some random annual one-shots and things like that. Some more notable stories that are miniseries and things, but... Yeah, a lot of stuff.
I want to know why he's riding a tiger on the cover. Like, what story is this?
He seems to be a caveman version of Superman, would be my guess. So there's that. We have Legends Omnibus hardcover. This was an event in the late 80s, if I recall correctly. So this has got all the tie-ins, all the books that tied into it. I've read a couple of the issues that tied into this because they're part of Byrne's Superman run, but yeah, this was going on in those early days. So there's an issue of Batman in here, an issue of Detective. The main thing is Legends issue 1 through 6, but this has got all the tie-in issues of everything that was going on during that time.
The back part of it says that this was a sequel to Crisis.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I want to say this is the one where like Gordon Godfrey's trying to like manipulate everyone on behalf of Darkseid. I want to say that's what the plot of this one is, but it's, you know, forgive me if I'm misremembering. So that's that. And we got Legion of Superheroes 5 years later omnibus volume 2, new printing. You can have it if you want, Matt. I'll take no part of it. Omega Men by Tom King deluxe edition, new printing. So like the one miniseries by Tom King from DC that I've not read, funnily enough. Just because it predates like the show, I guess. Robin Bronze Age Omnibus hardcover new printing. This is such a scattershot of issues. Having said that, though, I'm not sure if I feel like these are probably mostly backups rather than the main issues, if I was to guess. Because I think the Supergirl like Silver Age or Bronze Age stuff is also kind of like that.
Oh boy. It says collecting dozens of stories in which Robin deals with bullying, motorcycle gangs, campus protests, and much more. So yeah, definitely feel like backups.
Yeah, that'd be my guess. Then we got the Flash Road to Rebirth Omnibus hardcover. So this is Flash 26 to 52. So yeah, so this is basically everything after that first New 52 run by Buccellato and Manipul, right?
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, because 26 all the way up to 52. It's so funny to me though that they're calling it the Road to Rebirth, as if people who care about Rebirth might like this, and I'm like, I feel like most of this isn't that interesting to Rebirth.
You can just skip it.
Yeah.
I saw the Brett Booth art and I got jump scared. So yeah.
I mean, I guess it's good for completion's sake, but I can't say I'm excited by the thoughts of Robert Venditti's Flash years. But hey, and that's it. That's the solicits for February. Although, as always, the collections are further ahead than that. I mean, that's for April, for example. So there you go. Solicits done. Oh, I can breathe a little bit. I've been talking nonstop. Yeah.
Take a breath, stretch, Yeah.
The worst thing possible now is that I'd have to talk for another 2+ hours about comic books. Oh, wait.
But see, now, because I won't step on you, now we get to have a discussion. It's not just you telling, you know what I mean? I'm
not just reading copy from DC's PR department for an hour. All right. Shall we get into things? Let's do it. Superman Unlimited issue 7, Dan Slott writing, and Jeremy Adams writing actually, with Rafael Albuquerque on the art. So this one focuses on John Kent, who's been tested to try and withstand more kryptonite weapons with Steel and Lana at the Steelworks, who have kind of sort of set up shop in Smallville. And I think the main bulk of this issue is really about this idea that John has been so busy just being Superman/Superboy that he's never really built a normal life. And his mom basically says, hey, I have opened up a Smallville branch of the Daily Planet, and I really appreciated that this was just like a little, storefront in this main street of Smallville. It's not some big building, it's not a skyscraper, it's just a little office that you would get in a small town, and you're going to run it, John. You're going to go look for stories, and you're going to do this. And it basically deals with this idea that he's so used to using his powers for everything that when he's told that he has to put on a pair of glasses and not use powers, he finds himself struggling to deal with that.
Because he's never had a chance to be just a normal kid, So I do like that's what because it says that the plot's by Slott, but the writer is Adams. So I feel that's what Adams really took the hook of. And we get kind of, John Kent in Smallville having his, how weird can Smallville be, right? It seems like this boring town, but when you're the hometown of Superman, everything's going to be a little bit off.
Yeah, I think for me, this was just good character development for John, because it feels like he was catapulted into sort of early adulthood, and we didn't get to do it. And I think what I like about this as well is that it feels different to Clark. It doesn't feel like Clark always kind of valued his Clark Kent persona. He always kind of valued his public part of life, and John's never really built that because he grew up, with his parents as Superman and Lois Lane, and he'd just been a part of that world. This idea that he's no, you've actually kind of avoided having to build a public facing life. It's time for you to do that. So, and obviously some jokes come out of this where when he shows up with the glasses and Steele's those glasses aren't going to fool anyone, and Lana starts giggling, oh, you've got no idea. And then the scientist who's got a crush on John, who's introduced earlier in the issue, comes out.
Yeah, on Superboy or Superman, John, not this version.
Yeah, that's the point. Yeah, he's got. That's what I'm getting at. He's got a crush on Superman John, right? In terms of his superhero version. He walks in and he just ignores John Kent, reporter. He doesn't even pay attention to him. He shuffles him away, oh, the press are here? Why are the press here? And he just acts like a little prick. And Steele's just in the background going, wait, how did that work? And Lana's just oh, welcome to my high school life. That's kind of funny. It's just poking fun at the tropes, but it's also kind of establishing kind of that John's going through some of this stuff now as well. And that's good. Honestly, all the character stuff I really liked. The only thing I didn't really like about this issue is kind of, I thought the last chunk of it felt very rushed, because it felt like they seeded some things throughout the issue about a missing cow and some other things, but when it got to the end and it turned out to be mole men and a giant mole robot mech, I was like, oh, I guess this is what we're doing to end the issue.
I feel like it could have been easily 2 issues where we get the reveal about the mole men, and then John investigating the mole men in the next one, and kind of spread it out, and then I would have had a better, you know, I felt like it would have been paced better.
And I don't even think it's because, like, I mean, I do think it's rushed in terms of the action, but I don't even think that's the part of the rushing that bothers me more. I think it's the part that the issue builds up this idea that he's given this mission by Lois, like, hey, you're going to write your first article, find a story that's close to home, and hand it in by Friday. And then John struggles thinking about what his article could be. To me, that's the part that felt rushed in the end, is that, like, we just kind of, he has this fight, and then it's like, oh, he's handed in his article. I'm like, surely we could have done something interesting where he, like, you know, like, I don't know, I'm imagining maybe more of a scenario where he found, like, a good human interest story instead of just writing about the action thing that happened to him as Superman. You know, that was the part to me that bothered me about it feeling rushed. It wasn't so much even just the action part of it, which does feel rushed, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it doesn't, but I was enjoying so much him struggling with the idea of what am I going to write an article about? I'm not a reporter, that's not what I am. I liked him trying to deal with that, and I liked all the human parts of it. I liked the struggling to, you know, drive instead of fly, which I'm sure he's not got a license, so that's weird, but go on.
I love the Mom Pa Kent part where he's like, he's never learned how to drive. He's like, wait, John, when was the last time you drove? He goes, when you taught me. And Pa Kent's like, yeah, you were sitting on my lap. You were basically a toddler. I thought that was a real good joke.
And John just speeds off and grabs the keys, and it's like a whole thing. But, you know, I do like this idea of, like, giving John something specific to do, because you know, like, he's kind of waffling around ever since Superman came back and he wasn't the one who was here to be Superman, like, on his own anymore. It felt like he was just, he's showing up as the backup occasionally, and that's kind of it. I appreciate that this, in terms of the Superman books, means that every so often we can say, no, John's in Smallville. That's where he's based now. He's in Smallville doing the local Daily Planet thing. And he doesn't have to do that forever. But for a few years of comics, if this is like his training ground where he's learning to be a reporter and doing that kind of thing, or maybe they'll swerve us and we'll find out, maybe he'll decide ultimately that that's not what he wants to do, but maybe he discovers what he does want to do because he finds it whilst he's trying to be a reporter or something.
Well, and I like it too, because when he was in the relationship with Jay in the pages of Taylor's, Jay already was a journalist, right?
That's
that was
right,
the whole entry to Jay. And so the fact that gets brought up, and he goes, no, that was my ex. My ex was the writer. That's not me. I'm Superman.
Which was news to us, by the way, that they've broke up.
Yeah, and it says that it happens in the pages of Suicide Squad, so I'm just gonna go, okay.
Secret Six, not Suicide Squad, but yeah.
Secret Six. So yeah, I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Sure, yeah, whatever.
At this point,
yeah, we'll go with it.
But there are some parts early on, because when they're testing the kryptonite missiles at the beginning, he gets distracted because one of the bystanders in the simulation looks like Jay. You know, so again, a bit of development there as well.
Yeah.
So,
I really like giving him something that's his. Like, okay, the small town Daily Planet thing is going to be his now for a while, and we know he's based in Smallville. So when they go to Smallville for some reason, they can run into him, or when they call him in from somewhere, we can see him leaving his like little Daily Planet office in Smallville to come. It feels like he's got like a homestead now. It feels like he's got some place, and he's living with the grandparents, obviously, you know, at the farm.
And I also like how they write out Grandma and Grandpa like that. It gives it this kind of homesy kind of way. The way that Clark calls him Mom and Pa still, he calls him Grandma and Grandpa. So and then just the whole steelworks of it too, with Lana and John Henry there. I also, they make a good supporting cast for, like, you know, what they're doing to help out the community. Yeah. You know, by essentially keeping Smallville this like small town, but also taking it into the like near future. You know, like there's, you know, robots walking dogs and a whole they've upped the whole like electrical grid, and added technology in this alien corn that they're growing, for ethanol and stuff. So it makes Smallville feel like a big deal while maintaining its small charm. So
and you see some of the reactions of the people in the town to some of this stuff as well, where like the guy's like, oh, if you're going to have a dog, why don't not walk it yourself, when he sees the robot walking the dog, and he's just giving a little bit of lip. But it's fleshing out the world a little bit. It's feeling like there's like, at any point we can cut to John now in this book and have more context for where he is in life, and it's not just he's been in the ether since, it's like in the same way that they introduced that new gorilla character, where like, we've got this character now that we can have dip in when relevant because we took the time to set them up. Now obviously John didn't need to be set up as a character. We knew who John was. He was already established. But like I said, he was kind of just waffling around. Like, what was his home base before this? I don't know. So I really like the idea that this is continuing to kind of not ignore its supporting cast. And even like Lana and John, like they did that Superman summer special to set up this idea that they're married now and they're in Smallville with Steelworks, and this references back to that once or twice. It's like, okay, I appreciate this sense of all the plates spinning of all the different like extended Superman family and like what they're all up to and what they're all doing. And it feels like Superman Unlimited, more so than the other books, is kind of keeping tabs on a lot of these other characters. Whereas, Action's obviously doing the past stuff with young Clark, so that's kind of separate right now. And the main Superman book does bring up some of these characters sometimes, but it's definitely focusing on its big plot ideas, whereas this feels like, no, we can spend an issue with just John, and we may get another one in the future. I mean, next issue, it sounds like it's going to be a Lois issue where she goes to space. Cool.
Yeah, it definitely feels like the world of Superman. And every so often we'll touch back in Superman and the whole gold thing, like, right? When he gets the kryptonite radiation and goes gold and then loses his powers for a little bit. We'll touch back in and El Caldera and all that type of stuff. But here, if we're going to focus on, Lois, John, maybe Ma and Pa at the same time to see what all that's up to, that's real cool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, again, the only real complaint I have from a story perspective is just the ending feeling kind of rushed. Like, once he goes down underground and finds the mole men, and obviously the resolution is just that once he sort of stops and explains to them that he's sorry that he sort of interrupted their tunnels down there, and now that everyone knows they're down there, they're going to respect the environment, that deep into the ground, because basically Steel works by drilling too far, disturbed their habitat. So but they really like ice cream, so they seem to get along at the end. But all of this is just a little bit rushed for me, where I was like,
for sure. And also the idea that that Smallville is like this nexus of weird, right? And that it has been even before Clark lived there. I just like that. So like the idea that these mole men have been there the whole time, but they've just been minding their own business. I really liked it. We got a fun visual at the end where they're all, they're meeting Steel and Superwoman, and one of them is wearing Steel's helmet.
Yes,
and it almost looks like a little kid.
Yeah, that was cute.
Yes, it gave me quite a chuckle. So, but yeah, it's pretty decent.
Yeah, vibes were solid. Just a bit rushed at the end, but I do really appreciate most of what this issue sets up. It's almost like, it probably would have been better as a two-parter just to flesh out some of it a little bit and make it feel like you had to build up to writing that article. But everything it sets up, I feel like is going to pay dividends in how I like this run going forward. With it feels like it's setting up all of its supporting cast in different ways and taking time to focus on each of them, even if parts of it are a little bit rushed like this one was. So, and it made me excited for the next one, because Lois Lane putting on the astronaut helmet and getting giddy about the fact that she's going to space, was also kind of cute. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm into this.
Yeah. Well, and again, just how strong the characterization is, the fact that Lois sends John this stuff to Ma and Pa Kent, and in it is a one of the hologram drones that we've seen, and that's how she goes to talk to John, because it's a bit more personal than just like a FaceTime, right? And then I think someone brings up that, isn't it a little bit like wasteful to use one of these just as communication? And so I do like that.
Superman comes home from work and he's like, isn't it wasting resources to just use that to talk to her son? And she's like, shut up, Superman. I'm the mum here, right? I will do what I please.
And I like that as well, just that whole her sticking up for it being the, I'll run the Daily Planet how I choose fit vibes. But yeah, and John looks, they make him distinct with the glasses as well. Like, like he's definitely his father's son here. So, just Lucas Meyer art all the way around is also great. Never going to be upset with that. So,
wait, was it Lucas Meyer?
Yeah, Lucas Meyer in the art.
Why didn't you correct me when I said Albuquerque at the start?
Because I didn't, I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, that's the answer. You weren't paying attention.
Yeah, no. But yeah, that's definitely not Albuquerque, bud. Like, you could look at it and know.
It's probably really obvious when I'm looking at it, but like, I'm pretty sure League of Comic Geek still said Albuquerque, so I just didn't change it.
Yeah.
Or I had a brain fart. Either way, doesn't matter. The point is, Meyer's art's pretty good. So we've got a lot of books to do. We given Superman Unlimited.
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I think I will as well. It probably would be higher if I didn't feel the ending stuff was rushed, but I do really like everything this is doing in terms of the long game, in terms of like being a comic book run that feels like it's got a lot of moving parts and characters. I'm liking the world building and the attention to give John this focus, and it's probably the most like thing I've liked about John story wise in a couple of years at this point. So I'm pleased with that. Wonder Woman issue 27, legacy number 827. This is Tom King writing with Daniel Sampere on the art. This was a very satisfying issue, I thought. Which is, we ended the last one with Mouse Man having the reveal that he has got Wonder Woman's daughter, right, Lizzie? And the opening of this issue shows how that happened. You see Candy with the other Amazonian with the mouse girl and the two babies, right? So you got Lizzie and then the other kid, the one that the other Amazon had. And we see the Mouse Man SWAT team, for lack of a better term, like sneaking up on them and coming in and attacking them. And it looks like they shoot the other Amazon in the head.
Yeah.
It's a big moment. So she might be dead. I don't know if that's a definite kill, but it does not look good. I think it's fair to say.
It feels like it, because it feels tragic in the moment. You know what I mean? Like,
it does. And, Mouse Man's like getting all cocky here, because when it starts to come back into the scene with him and Wonder Woman, where he's like, hey, I've got your friend Candy. I've got, the other baby. I've got this woman. I've got blah, blah. I've got your daughter, which means I have you, Wonder Woman. And the next page is him staring her down and saying, get on your knees. And Wonder Woman just stares at him, does not yield. And then he gets angry. We get a close-up, right? Because the first 4 panels, the 6-panel page, the first 4 are basically identical, with other than the speech bubbles. And a little slight difference of like his facial expression.
Yeah, he goes from a smile to like a stern grimace.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, he only smiles on one panel. It's only on that panel where he's saying get on your knees. Every other one, he's got the same kind of grimace. And then the 5th and 6th panel are close-ups of their faces where he yells, get on your effing knees, you feeble, I presume bitch, is the last word.
Yeah.
And he slaps her and says, my mice will feast upon your daughter. They will eat her. They will drown her. She'll be crying out for you. He gets super, super vicious about it, slaps her a couple of times, and then demands she get on her knees again. And she just punches him so hard in a full-page spread, uppercuts him right to the chin.
Palm strike, just perfect form, right up there. Oh my God, with a no thing.
I think because the ending of last issue sort of sold it as this big cliffhanger, and it was like, this is not like betraying that in any way, but it sold it in such a way where you were kind of worried, like, oh God, is she going to have to like, play ball a little bit until she can figure out a way to like, flip the tables kind of thing. And it was so satisfying, him trying to demean her, trying to make her feel lesser, only for her to just kick the absolute shit out of him.
Yep.
It's so satisfying.
Yep. This is an absolute drubbing of Mouse Man by Wonder Woman.
Yeah. We cut to the girl, because after they've all been taken, the girl is taken to an interrogation room, and obviously the guard just keeps saying, Mouse Man knows, mice have ears, so on and so on. And later on, like a sort of upper general, and we've established at this point that the upper generals can say some more words than the low like ranking people, and he's basically saying, but it's basically just nothing but complimenting Mouseman. He's like, Mouseman's the most handsomest man who's ever lived. Mouseman is perfect. He's amazing. He's like a beautiful lion or something. And like, eventually the girl, who obviously it was a big deal when she finally said help, because she'd been saying nothing but her approved phrases the whole time, she stutters out at the end of this page after staring at this guy, "You're weird," which I thought was really funny.
I love it. It's such, because it goes from, Wonder Woman with the the palm strike uppercut to like a sense of danger because she's being carried over the shoulder, right? Sitting across from this guy, and just the ultimate tension break with the "you're weird," like it was pitch perfect pacing throughout, and the timing, delivery, everything. Yeah,
really good. And when it goes back to the interrogation scene, I love the effectively when he keeps trying to effectively mind wash her and program her back into just saying the approved phrases and to be obedient and whatnot. She basically just chooses to keep saying Wonder Woman over and over again. Like, that's now the phrase she's choosing to say. And it felt, again, very defiant. It felt very much like, it's not quite the same as Wonder Woman kicking the shit out of Mouseman, but in her own way, it felt like she's having the same defiant moment as Wonder Woman, Like, she's been inspired by her, so she's also standing up to this bully.
Yeah, and then, like, because there's noise coming around of Mouseman getting the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
Right? And you're getting the crash, and she goes, "Noise, Wonder Woman," and then that's where she just starts repeating Wonder Woman, for all of this. And it's like,
Diana picks up Mouseman and basically says, "You're pretty thick, but how thick are these walls?" And then throws him at a wall, and he just sort of smashes against it and crumples to the floor. If anyone who knows wrestling, just think Shane McMahon going against the King of the Ring glass and it just not breaking. It's basically that. And then she's like, "Oh, we'll have to try again." So she picks him up again, almost like Bane picking up Batman, and then throws him at the wall, and then he goes through, and she's like, "Better." Like, it just, it's so cathartic.
Yeah, it is Shane and Angle, isn't it? I didn't even put that together. But it's the wall didn't break. Here, let's try again.
One more time. Why not?
Man. Yeah.
And then she keeps throwing him through more walls, throws him through a wall into his men, punches the crap out of him. That's when we go back to the girl and her defiant yelling of Wonder Woman. And again, Wonder Woman throws them through some more walls until they're outside. She basically keeps saying, like, "Nah, this won't do. This place still stinks of you. We have to keep going further," and throws them through another wall. She's basically just throwing them through walls until she gets to the outside. And that's the whole thing. And someone tries to shoot at her. She deflects the bullet. She lassos the gun over and says, "I need to borrow this gun for a minute." And she then tells Mouseman to get on his knees, which obviously is a callback to him telling her to get on her knees. And when he does get on his knees, she hands him the machine gun, right? And says, "The rest is up to you." And she walks away. Basically, it's basically like not quite the same, but it's almost kind of Western when they do like the paces where they're back to back, right? She's basically doing that with him, but he's facing her the entire time. He's holding the gun, and she's walking away back to him. And he looks down at the gun, he's clearly considering his options, and he does fire it at the bottom of the page. And this page is like 5 just very horizontal panels of her walking away. And
the way that the pacing that Sampere does with her, it almost makes a vertical or a diagonal line, right, from the top to the bottom. Like, it's so well, I want to say directed, but it's not directed, right, because it's drawn. But yeah, it is so well captured here.
Yeah, there's just this perfect pacing to it, and she's like looking over her shoulder in that last panel as you hear the gunshot go off, and obviously the next page is like one big panel of her deflecting the bullet, and you see the bullet like going back the way it came, and then the rest of the page is it hitting Mouseman right in the stomach. So it's like he's just like, shot himself, and that's when she comes up to him and says, like, "You threatened my child. You threatened Steven's child. Like you like the man I love. You've threatened his child." And I want you to understand that, you're not facing the wrath of the Amazons here. You're not facing the wrath of even the people that you tortured. And she leans in to whisper in his ear, "You're facing the wrath of," and then someone yells her name. It's the mouse girl yells Wonder Woman. But you assume that's what Diana was going to say, is that you've pissed me off. And that's what you're getting right now.
Yeah.
So
Because if it was for those other things, she would have kept her composure, right? You don't think she would have been throwing in the little comments.
No,
it just would have been a fight. You know what I mean? But she has to go and twist the knife and emasculate him as much as possible to let him know you did this. You awoken,
Oh yeah,
take your punishment.
He crossed the line, and she is making sure he understands that he crossed the line. So yeah, but Mouse Girl's like, hey, I fell, I run into hole, found you, and him. And so it's very broken up, right? But Diana says, oh, you're speaking much better. That's good. And then she looks down at Mouseman and says, you've changed, as have I, and drops him. And it's almost like in that moment, like maybe she was going to go further, but seeing the girl made her remember, like, oh, I'm Wonder Woman. Like, I'm not a killer. I'm going to, stop this right now, kind of thing.
It reminded her who she was, right? Yeah. She's that little girl. Right. And and again, Sampere's art here is pitch perfect because the reaction shot of Diana to the girl is like she has this sheepish smile on her face. Like, oh, hi. Like you busted her doing something she's not supposed to, And there's so much that's not on the page, right? With like dialogue wise, that's being told in this layout.
No, I love
she drops him and there's that crunch of his head hitting the ground too.
That's the last panel. Yeah. No, I loved the pacing of this issue. I mean, it read very quick, I suppose, but like in a good way where there was this momentum to everything where it was almost like a relief in a way. Not that I was worried that the issue was going to be bad or whatever, but part of me thought, oh, it's going to be an issue where there's lots of negotiations or lots of like being trapped and trying to figure out a way to like, outsmart the bad guys kind of thing. Having her just unleash hell on him because he's done wrong was really satisfying in a way that really worked. You got to enjoy her wrath, as she puts it, but then obviously she sort of keeps her hero kind of status at the end and sort of remembers her morality when this girl reminds her of it. So I don't know, I think all this was just perfectly paced for me. And there's still consequences to this. Obviously, what's happened to the mother, and obviously we know that the other baby's got a future that's not going to go very well. So this is kind of the start of that path in a lot of ways. So excited to see how we pick this up next time. But so we have 2 more issues before there's a 2-issue kind of fill-in arc. So very excited to see how we wrap this stuff up. But it feels like Mouseman has been mostly defeated here. I'm sure he'll make some last-ditch effort. Like, people who follow him are going to try something next issue, I have no doubt. But this was very cathartic as far as issues go. And obviously the art by Sampere, like all these big moments, the build-up. Like, I think that moment of Mouseman stepping in and saying, get on your knees, like, I own you now. Having her not respond, and then when he yells at her just, like, unleashing and breaking his jaw was perfection, pretty much. So, no, great stuff. I have very little to critique, honestly, in this issue. Yeah.
Just at the beginning, Ed is telling a story about how when she first came there and met Etta, it took her to her family ranch, and her dad was kind of this cowboy type, and and we get a kind of their view of Wonder Woman and how she was even inspiring then, right? And she goes, we all got dressed up in cowboy gear, went riding, and her dad said, you can dress her any way you want, Candy, but that woman is just who she is. And that's how we get to the end of it, right? Is like her being this violent and full of anger and vengeance is not really who Diana is, as we've seen. And it's almost like something with the Sovereign and the death of Steve and all of this, it's almost kicked her into a different gear, right? So no matter, I feel like that story at the beginning is to show kind of how far she's being pushed now, right? With these new threats. And so it was a real great way to balance out this issue, is to, remind us where she was and now where she is.
Yeah. Excellent stuff. Matt, what are you giving Wonder Woman?
It's a 9.
Yeah, I'm going to go 9.5. I really like this issue. Like, I really like this issue. So, yep, that'll do it for that. Absolute Flash, issue 9. Jeff Lemire writing with Nick Robles on the art. So, yeah, I mean, we finally are continuing forward with the story, because obviously we've had a couple of flashback issues in different ways to flesh out things recently. And this is the Rogues working with Wally. And Wally actually doesn't immediately say yes. Like, you know, he's kind of needs to be convinced. Like, Grodd has to tell him that they're not lying about what their plans are up front. Although one of them is, kinda, because Trickster is actually working for Thawne. She's loyal, or for some reason.
Because before she put that mask on, or that helmet, she was nothing. And now she's something. And Thawne threatened to take that away. Right? So again, I also like just the dynamics of the Rogues, right? Where Cold and Glider and Boomerang, right? They're all thick as thieves. But the moment you offer someone, you know, a way out, you know, and I'm sure, judging with how this ends, hopefully we get to see some resolution to that, you know, amongst the Rogues.
Well, yeah, because the whole thing is that the obviously Thawne, Eleanor Thawne, that is, knows that they're going to betray her, and that they're just pretending to bring Wally in as a prisoner. So, you know, we get a lot of stuff on the flight there with the other characters talking to Wally, Glider and Trickster throwing some jabs at each other, which obviously that tension kind of will, you know, be a bit more relevant once they actually do feel betrayed by her. But the big thing here, though, is that Wally, and this was teased in the opening page as well, is that he's starting to have these visions of what I'm assuming is kind of the Speed Force in this, you know, version of the Flash, where he's seeing.
It also reminds me of Oa in the Green Lantern.
Yeah, right? It's a little bit. It's like this. Yeah, an absolute Black Void specifically. Yeah. Where he's seeing this circle appear, and he's getting entranced by it. No one else can see it, and it's like he's hearing. Well, in this case, it's himself that he's like sort of seeing talk to himself, and it's like he's talking to himself from slightly in the future, but it's like he's kind of confused by it, and it's definitely presented in a way where it's not that coherent. It's very kind of fractured and like, making sense. Like, but he's saying things like, "Oh, I am the now, I am the before, and I'm the after," and things like that. But yeah, he freaks out a little bit, and it takes Grodd using his telepath powers to kind of calm him down and bring him back to reality a little bit. So. You know, clearly this is something that Lemire's setting up and going to be building and adding to over the course of the next several issues, I assume.
Yeah, it's like he's experiencing everything at once, right? Like all time is happening now, and he's getting pieces of the future in with the present. And so when Grodd does like his little head bump here, and it says only Wally here now, right? It's almost like he's bringing him back to center. And so I like that. And that whole... The way the Robles draws this with the bubbles here and the little like connecting like dots or whatever between Wally and Grodd that are pink, I really like that because it's really showing the progression here and how Wally's calming down. It's not as chaotic. Yeah, you know.
And it should be clear here that it doesn't feel like he's seeing himself like years in the future. It feels like he's seeing himself a second or two into the future. It feels like it's just a little bit of time. But it's like an echo. It reminds me a little bit like sometimes when you have young Clark Kent like getting his super hearing for the first time and he can't control it. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. Although it may build to something bigger with this because, you know, Speed Force and timey-wimey shenanigans.
Right.
So, yeah, they're flying into the base and Trickster basically bubbles up her and Wally so they're safe, and then Thawne blows up the ship they're on. So we get a big full praise spread of the explosion, and it looks like shit, the Rogues are all dead. Except Grodd was able to psychically put them in a bubble, so Grodd's protected the rest of them, so they're all okay actually. But they now know that Thawne was expecting the double cross and that they're kind of like at odds with her now. So we get a big action sequence of them falling through the sky and boomerangs, like sending out boomerangs to carry some of the others and all sorts. Wally breaks out of the bubble that Trickster's got him in. Grodd passes out from the strain of like protecting them all, but it seems like he's going to be okay. You know, but that's kind of like what we're doing here. So, I thought this was, I mean, up until this point, I thought this was a very interesting kind of the start of the relationship between Wally and the Rogues, because I mean, they bring up knowing his father, of course, but this is the first time they've got to actually kind of know each other a little bit, and not even like find out things about each other, but just be around each other to actually have some back and forth, hear how each other talk, that kind of thing. And I think for the most part, I was kind of digging the vibe that I was getting from these interactions, which is good.
Yeah, and in the meta too, I always felt like the difference between Barry and Wally was how he deals with his villains, and that Wally, you know, went out of his way to try to befriend Cold, right? Yeah. And the fact like Piper is one of his best friends and started off as a rogue or whatever. So the fact that Lemire's starting here with, you know, they're not his enemy, right? They were told to bring him in, but it's almost like they were doing a favor for his dad, with like bring my kid back, you know, more than going out for Thawne to bring in her asset or whatever. So I do like that their relationship seems to be more of the, you know, it's a very thin layer of trust, but it's still there.
Yeah. You know? And then the thing at the end is that it builds up to Thawne saying, oh yeah, I manipulated Barry Allen into befriending Wally because I knew that we'd need like a sacrifice of some kind. And basically says that Barry Allen built a doorway and that Wally is the key to going in. Now, whether that's like the Speed Force is some sort of physical place they can go, or if it's using the Speed Force to build a doorway to like a different time or something like that, you know, whatever we're doing. It says next time Cosmic Treadmill, so we'll see if the treadmill is remotely like what it normally is. But certainly, you know, I think she thinks her grandfather's alive in here somewhere, and she's trying to get him back. But that would also maybe mean that we'll also get Barry and Jay back at some point potentially as well.
Yeah, so she says here that it was, you know, I knew the process would need a sacrifice. It was meant to be Barry Allen, but your son changed that. So Wally is almost like this catalyst in everything that has happened now. You know, that if it had gone according to her plan with Barry and all that type of stuff, you know, who knows where we would be. But the fact that Wally was there and disrupted it, you know, is where we are now. And I do like that as you know, the Flash origin here, you know, that it still involves Barry, but it's also inherently part of who Wally is, you know, and him being the key to the said door or whatever, you know, he's like the avatar of the Speed Force. So yeah, man. And just once we get into the with Thawne under the base and just like all the reds and pinks and like everything coming off of this big, huge, you know, energy, whatever this force is, the Speed Force, it looks really cool.
Yeah, no, I like the way the coloring's done there, because it starts off with just blues, but then you get the sense as they're walking towards this orb of light, this whatever this, you know, portal is. You see more and more pink as if it's shining on them, and then you get the reveal in the last page, obviously, of what they're looking at. No, I mean, the art's really solid. It's very clean, Robles art, I think. Layouts are pretty solid too. It deals in lots of rectangles and boxes, but you know, when we do the action set pieces like they're falling through the sky, it switches to your more off-angled kind of boxes and stuff to give a sense of momentum going down. So it does that quite effectively, but that doesn't overdo it, so you're not feeling like it's just constantly doing wacky things for the sake of it. Obviously this is not quite the art of the, you know, the opening arc and all that, but the unique take on the speed lines and whatnot. I don't know if we'll get back to that or not. Maybe we're just done with that style, but
yeah, we have a little bit of there with the gutters on the page on the plane when he sees that void. You know, we get a little bit of the red and yellow, kind of, but not like it was.
Yeah, it's very different though, because like I'm talking about when he was moving and you'd get like these straight lines behind him, kind of thing. This is this is just a little bit more of a stylized, like sort of, I don't know, panel breakdown, I guess. But
it is recalling that, right, with the breakups of the lines that we were kind of getting with them using the Speed Force.
It's using the Flash colors, so I guess it reminds you of them, but I'm not convinced that this is the same thing as we were seeing back in that first arc. I feel like it's just using the same colors because those are the Flash colors, you know?
Gotcha. Well, I took this as like, this is when the Speed Force is active, is when you see this kind of breakdowns with the dash lines and the dots and whatever, you know? And here it's just a little bit different than what we're used to.
Yeah, I mean, he is using his powers, though, later on, and there's no, you know, speed lines of any kind, so... Yeah, I don't think it's sticking to that style as strictly. Now, whether or not they've backtracked on it or it's because of different artists, I don't know if it is for sure. I'd have to go back and check. I don't think it was Robles that started on this. I'd have to check. But
Robles was the artist that kicked it off.
Was he? Okay.
And then we did the Barry in the town with the Dibneys, and that was a different artist. And then the flashback was a different, but the other ones have been. Robles,
it's interesting that they've toned that down then, and I wonder if they're trying to say it's because Wally's more stable now and he's not like as confused. But
yeah,
if that's the case, though, I still feel like it should still be there when he's using his powers because it felt like a very strong stylistic choice. But maybe they just decided it was too much. Maybe they regretted going so heavy on it. I don't know, but it's more of a notable change than it is like necessarily a complaint per se. Though I'm not saying it looks obviously everything looks good. So that's what it is. But all right, Matt, what are you giving Absolute Flash?
I'm gonna give this an 8.5.
I will go with an 8. I think it's pretty great. I'm liking the character developments and what they're teasing. So I'll go with an 8 out of 10. So cool. Nightwing issue 132, legacy number 318. So obviously we've been digging this plotline quite a bit with the Zani and Olivia Pierce, and this one kind of really catapults it into the next sort of phase where we start off, we sort of recap what's just happened. Nightwing Prime has been hurt with kryptonite. He's on the mend. Nightwing's feeling quite sad about this and that someone's been hurt, but Babs is like, hey, I know you're feeling down right now, but more children are going missing in Bloodhaven. This is kind of a big deal. And the drawing of the Zani again, like this was left behind. So Nightwing crumples the paper and he's looking all serious as Olivia Pierce is talking to the Zani. And there's some really interesting art here, actually, where the Zani's like talking to her about, oh, this was always the plan, sweet girl, and all that. But after he said that and she puts on her red mask, and she's got basically like a Nightwing type outfit on, but it's red, and the Nightwing logo is upside down. And we find out this is the same suit that she gave Nightwing into the Titan's Tower in the past arc, and the idea was that it was basically recording all of his moves so that she would just have all of his skills when the eventual fight comes. So, sneaky bugger that she is. But Nightwing basically like storms the office. Like he runs, we get this big full page spread of him running through the rain. It looks gorgeous. And he comes smashing through the window, and Olivia's like, hey, it's about time, we've done this. And we get a fight sequence where they go flying out the window, there's kicks, they land on a speeding train, there's yelling, there's spins, at one point Olivia starts spinning her stick around, so we get kind of a helicopter focus. He's like, where are the kids? And she won't tell him, or she'll say Cirque du Sin, but she's not really going to explain where that is or what that means.
Where?
So yeah, the first half of it's this big fight scene. Nightwing's pissed, he's angry, he's demanding to know where these missing kids are, and this actually all builds up to when she breaks out of her binds, when Nightwing kind of like ties her up for a bit. I remember the tease some issues ago that there was like something about her like quote unquote real face, this idea that she could take her face off, and there was something else in there. Yeah, it messed up Melinda, right? His sister. That's right. Yeah, she went into a catatonic state. So she started teasing that, and I didn't want to turn the page. I'm gonna be honest. It spooked me a bit. Well, I think what's so smart about it is when you turn the page and it's like a full page of her face, and she's clearly about to like start peeling off her face, but there's panels of her past covering that part of it, and then over the next few pages, like it's hiding more and more of what her face is, but even though you can just see enough to tell that she's revealing more of it to Nightwing. Yeah, it's really smart. It's really good. It is. So we get like basically this super dark part of her origin. Yeah, on you go. Here. Oh yeah. So we get the origin of what happened that night. That it was set up in the annual, the Nightwing annual with Pierce. Yeah. And well, she had set up. This is after that though. This is like so basically Batman and Robin had their interaction, and Olivia Pierce was like, "Hey, we'll lure Robin back. Just put me in danger, put me in a death trap, and he will come running." But like, it's not like they announced it. It's not like they said, "Hey, a child's in danger." They just put her in a death trap, and of course, you know, Robin and Batman aren't going to show up for that.
Yeah, so she puts up this very elaborate with a candle burning this rope that's gonna drop like this axe blade or some kind of curved blade onto her. And Dick's like, you know, she couldn't have been more than my age. I think she wanted help, right? But Bruce is like, you know what? You know, you can't save the world on 3 hours of sleep, right? And he says, okay. And then we get the reveal that it cut off her head, right? The blade fell.
To break this down, right? So the first page shows her talking to the Zanny and saying, hey, put me in a death trap and the heroes will show up because they have to. And then the second page is like Dick looking out the window at Wayne Manor being like, oh, I think that girl just wanted help. Maybe we should go help her. And Batman's like, but she helped. She's complicit in murdering people and kidnapping people. Like, she's a lost cause. But Dick's being more sympathetic and Bruce convinces him to go to bed. And then on that third page, you see what the death trap is. Like you said, a candle burning a rope. And this big blade falls down. And then you just see a close-up of the Zanny's face, like his mask, after this happens. And then a silhouette of him holding her head. Making it clear that this decapitated her. She was dead.
Yeah.
And then you get the full page reveal that she's basically peeled off her skin to reveal a zombie face. Like, she is a dead person. She's been dead the entire time that she's been in this book. And not only that, inside her eye, inside the darkness of where the eye socket is, you see the eyes of the Zanny looking through her face.
Big nope. Big nope.
Excellent. I loved it. So creepy. Yes. And then the fact that the next page, you literally see the Zanny coming out of her head. Like, sort of, like he's been hiding in there the whole time, and it's like finally he's going to converse one-on-one with Nightwing. Super awesome, really exciting.
And we even get a Dick Grayson Holy Living Hell. Like the old, you know, holy whatever, Batman. So good. As the Zodi is coming out of her face, out of the eye holes. And just the expression on Dick's face here. So good, man. Yep.
Really, really good. And obviously we see that there's more kids hearing this music, being drawn to the Cirque du Soleil. And we cut back to the Zanny, who's like holding up Olivia Pierce and like standing tall above Nightwing. And it was nice for you to see me. And it's this idea that Nightwing had to be driven to this level of like anger and fear to finally be able to see him. It's almost like I don't know, like almost like you have to be drugged to a certain point to be able to see certain things. And this is kind of like that, but with like just like your psyche being completely tormented and whatever.
Yeah, because we get the vibe that Dick has felt the Zanny's presence, right? There's the whole motorcycle scene with them, right? And but he wasn't sure, you know, he didn't know.
Well, it's the idea that he's been getting closer over this last little while. So he's having these little moments of like, oh, did I see something in the corner of my eye? Did I feel something? And of course, he did see him that one time as a kid, which is that's why the image of his face has been haunting him like this entire time.
Right. And now he is standing, you know, across from him and standing over him, right? And just how much bigger he is than Dick. It makes Dick look like a kid. You know, and it kind of reverts him back to that, you know, kiddish kind of vibe here. And then I had no idea where this was going to go next. So it gets even more wild.
Yeah, I mean, she basically, so the Zanny pulls out like this stick thing, right? And she starts saying, you know, you fell for it, Nightwing, you walked right into her death trap. The little circus boy has grown on his own chest, he wears a mark. A curious mark for a circus boy to wear, for the circus has its own language, its own code and beliefs. And the bird in the circus tent means death, but not for the bird, for the others. And now at last, all Bloodhaven knows that you did not save. And because, like, no one else can see the Zanny, right? So the news helicopter, who's, like, now filming this, we see on the news, we just see her head, like, fall off. And Nightwing's reaching out. And the little kids who are watching are like, wait, Nightwing didn't just kill her, did he? Like, that's Nightwing. He wouldn't do that. But it's putting this seed of doubt into everyone that Nightwing's to be feared, that there's death. You know, even the news presenter was like, oh, I'm so sorry, everyone, that we just saw violence on TV.
Her head just fell off though on live TV. And then also I like that the Zani brings up that this is a slapstick, and that in the old term in the circus, like a slapstick was a real thing, right? And it's Zani's tool from the Commedia, which is the Italian circus that, you know, performance this is from. You know, so that's what they use it, and there's a slap, and then her head goes off. You know, and no one else can see this, right? There's no other. It is just Olivia and Nightwing there.
Yeah, and Olivia, you know, might just be gone now. It's almost like he's done with his host now that he's got Dick. So, and maybe he's going to try and latch onto Dick Grayson as a host. But we see these kids; they can see the tent outside, the Cirque du Soleil tent. Almost like the fear of seeing this is now making, like, it's very Freddy Krueger. It's this idea of the fear of him makes him stronger, and that these kids are now seeing this more and more because now they're scared of what's happening. So Nightwing screams again, "Where are all the children?" And the Zai just says, "In the Cirque du Soleil, of course, just behind the curtain. Listen carefully, you'll hear them laughing. See you there." And in the final panels at the Zani closing a curtain as Nightwing's on his knees, kind of weeping in the rain. So I love the sense of existential just hopelessness that this is giving me right now, because the uplifting part of like when Nightwing's able to finally overcome this is going to feel so good.
I read this thing over the last couple of weeks about why clowns are scary, and right, originally clowns weren't meant for like children, but after like World War II, there was all of these clowns in children's art, and they became like a thing for kids. And then through the 70s, and you know, the whole idea of the Joker and Pennywise from It and all these other evil clowns, killer clowns from outer space, they took this thing and made, you know, almost this reminder that they're not for kids, and they return the clowns to their spot of holding up a mirror to the rest of the world. And it's so weird where that's where I feel that Waters is going with the Zani, right? That he's holding up a mirror, and it's not just for the world, but, you know, this darkness that he's bringing to Bloodhaven, right? Like all the stuff that Nightwing has built, right? It's on this uneasy foundation because he can, you know, take it all away by making people lose their hope and belief in Nightwing here. And yeah, I love when stuff adds up like this. You know, like this whole concept of the evil clown coming back around here. Yeah,
I mean,
I was not ready for this issue.
Yeah, this is just such a great run, because like this issue is just like, it's not the ending by any means, but it's this culmination of all this teasing of Olivia Pierce's real face, of like Nightwing finally seeing the Zani one-on-one, but what it means that he can see him, because they've established that you can only see the Zani when you're so far gone that you're kind of in the deep end and you might never come back from that. Now, obviously, we expect that he will, but it really has sold this idea that he's only seeing the Zani because he's in a dark place mentally. Like, he's gone, like, far.
Right. Well, and, like, what exactly is the Zani, right? Because we've seen him mess up a fifth dimensional imp, too. So, like, what exactly is the Zani? Like, is it fear personified? Is it, like, existential dread? Is, like, you know, how is it moving? And I don't need the exact specifications, but like the threat is high, right? Like we have been, you know, built up. This seems almost insurmountable.
Yeah, I mean, it's an existential threat of some kind. It's this kind of like something from our plane of existence, or something that's in the shadows, or kind of thing. Like it's definitely going for this kind of like ethereal villain as opposed to like a tangible physical threat that's there. Now we could argue what he represents and like, you know, what it means and all that, but yeah, I think like just in terms of like the brass tacks of what actually is it, then this is like, you know, it's like I don't know, a villain from like a David Lynch movie or something. It's not something that's super tangible.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like he doesn't exist until you think him into existence, right?
But what I like about it though is that there's enough like solid baseline that it keeps building. The more we learn about him, the more interactions between him and Olivia, him and Nightwing, and the way it's built up, it feels like there is like it's not just random. It feels like there's a very thought out like understanding by Waters of what the rules are with
Right.
the Zani. It doesn't just feel like he's flailing about and the Zani can do anything supernaturally he wants. It feels like, no. There's this idea that he has to latch on to people and like push them to do his bidding. And there's definitely a supernatural quality to it. You know, whatever Olivia has been since she got decapitated, has certainly some kind of like undead entity or certainly not a normal human being at the very least. So there's clearly something more beyond just like manipulating human beings, but it doesn't feel like he could just do that to anyone on a whim. It feels like it has to be someone who's pushed to believe in him and can see him and so on. And obviously I think he's building to Nightwing being his ultimate avatar, I would assume, but we'll see how that goes. So, really cool. I'm digging
Waters
this a
does
lot.
too with the whole idea of a bird in the circus, and then, you know, Dick Grayson became Robin. Right? You know, and he had to leave the circus because of that tragedy or whatever. I also love that just thematically how this plays out. But yeah, so good. And then Dexter Soy's art, just again, that dread of turning each page when she goes to show the face. And then
and I really like
as
the fight.
you can see the pieces underneath the panels. Yeah,
I really like the fight building up to it, but yeah, it's that moment where she says, "Oh, you've not seen my real face," or whatever the line is, and then she starts to peel it, and it's those 3 pages of the flashback story playing out, hiding the reveal until we finally see it. Is because for a second I thought, oh, is it going to just slice off the front of her face so she's like still intact? But then you get that silhouette panel of him just straight up holding her head. And like, oh no, she get decapitated.
like Hamlet.
Yeah, she dead, and whatever's here now is something way more mystical and
Else.
you know.
Yeah.
So no.
So
Exciting stuff. Yeah. Curious to see what the next chapter of this is, but I'm super excited for it. And the art is gorgeous throughout. Dexter Soy absolutely killing it throughout. I love the sense of urgency in this issue. Much like Wonder Woman this week, it felt like we'd done all this setup and it was just about, oh no, it's time to throw down. And it then just feel like, because sometimes when you get an issue that's mostly action, not that this was all action, the back half kind of went into like more interesting, different stuff, but it can kind of feel like, oh, it's just an action issue, not much plot happened. But no. This is a good example, much like Wonder Woman this week, where everything's been built up so well that it feels really satisfying to get to this action, because this action is paying off everything that we've been building to for, you know, at least a full arc. And in this case, it's been probably building since the first Dan Waters issue of Nightwing, to be honest. Like, that's when we first teased the Zani. So, you know, honestly, very, very high marks here. Matt, what are you giving Nightwing?
I'm gonna go with the 10.
What the hell I do? Obviously I'm in the vicinity. Sure, I'll say 10.
Yeah. This book was so good I read it twice.
That's saying something. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's saying something indeed. Cool. All right. Justice League Red, issue 4, Saladin Ahmed writing with Clayton Henry on the art. So, I mean, this is coming together. You know, more of our team members are getting involved. This is obviously a lot more focused on Red Canary and her waking up. We find out she was investigating why people were going missing on college campuses, and that got her into this, you know, the whole cult of blood and father blood and all that stuff.
The Blood Tabernacle.
The Tabernacle, yes. That word that I'm never going to remember. So, you know, Red Tornado's explaining some of this stuff to her, and like, hey, yeah, you unleashed like some sort of the red, like this red energy. Now, they're talking about the red as an animal man, the red. I'm not sure. Doesn't seem like it, but.
No, because, you know, we still got the green. I haven't heard about the red in a minute, right? Because we haven't really had Animal Man or Vixen, right? Like, Vixen's been in Birds, but nothing about the, you know, that. So I wonder if this is just something new.
It seems like it to me, but yeah,
personified with that color, you know, regardless.
Yeah, but obviously he takes it to the other team members. Deadman is not talking to them, and they do acknowledge, aren't you usually invisible? But he can't speak, so he's just kind of sitting there in this scene, and then he's got on for the rest of the issue because the others all get their mission to go off. But they basically reveal here that Red Tornado's like giving up his body, and they see his head on a table with all the parts, and they see that he's basically repurposed all the parts of himself that were supposed to keep him kind of human and like think like a human being into just more data like processing parts so that he can do more stuff. And they're like, oh, this is wild. This is why you're acting so kind of cold about everything. But he reiterates that Black Adam needs to be stopped because he's going to do a thing that's going to lead to this apocalypsification of Earth. And that's a word they use in the book. I didn't make that up.
Yes.
So the whole thing here is that Black Adam is going to ultimately start taking over worlds to consume them for more power. And eventually he's going to try and take on Darkseid and lose, and it's going to lead to this future that he's terrified of. And when he gives all the data that he's got on this to Cyborg and Power Girl, they're like, yeah, we kind of concur. This is a clear line of causality. Like, we kind of have to stop him. Now, we're not going to assassinate him, which is clearly what Red Tornado is kind of implying, but we'll go
and
have a chat. We'll go and have a talk with Black Adam and see how it's going. And Red Canary's just kind of like, you know what? I'll join in. Yeah, I mean, I don't really understand what's going on here, but I'll join in. And Baz is like, yeah, I don't understand either. I do cars. This is all a bit too confusing for me. But if you two are saying it's a good idea, then yeah, let's go do this. So I appreciated this kind of back and forth quite a bit. I do think the cut to them just being in Kandak already, throwing punches, did feel a little bit abrupt to me. That was the one thing.
I would have liked a discussion amongst the group being like, do we trust Red Tornado actually? Right? Because he's almost too far gone. You know, that would have been a little bit nice. But well, I guess when the world's at stake from the, ruler of Kahndaq, I guess you gotta move swiftly because it says, the Palace of Kahndaq an hour later.
Yeah, they move quick. So they beat up some of his guards and stuff, and then Black Adam shows up and is like, why shouldn't I crush you for stepping into my home, blah, blah, blah. And, well, he does, basically. He wins. He beats them all. That's what the next several pages are.
Yeah.
And it's the last chunk of the book is him just beating all of the Justice League Red team members. Although he does acknowledge that after he puts down everyone else, Red Canary rushes at him, and he acknowledges that he can sense some great power in her that could probably move mountains if she knew how to wield it. But he knocks her out still because fundamentally she's not able to do that yet. But does acknowledge and tease this idea that she has some great power in her that's going to be a big deal. So the final page of the book is just Black Adam standing triumphant over all of the members knocked out. Well, technically Baz isn't knocked out. Baz is just cowering on the floor because he basically hit him with fear, basically.
Yeah. From like the staff of Anubis thing, and it's the power of fear itself. And yeah, he looks like he's having a bad trip. Baz ain't okay. I'm still trying to figure out what the hell's Dead Man gonna do. Right? He's quiet. I mean, he hasn't been the Dead Man that we're not that we know him well, but as far as we know him, it has not been Dead Man.
Something's afoot there. They're clearly making us think about it. They're saying, hey, it's Dead Man, but they can see him, but he's also not talking, and that's it for now. So clearly there's going to be more to that once they get to revealing it.
Because I half expect how this goes off. It says ghosts and machines. I'm wondering if Dead Man's going to possess Black Adam here, right? This was part of a distraction, Like, can he even do that? Because of how strong Adam is, right? With all of the, his Shazam stuff. But
I do not know.
Yeah, he's oddly absent here. So, but yeah, the whole ritual thing of him trying to absorb the power of the planet to also, to fight Darkseid or whatever. I was like, this took an awfully weird turn to hear, especially with this kind of KO, right? Where we have to get the King Omega thing too.
To be fair, it does give you an editor's note at one point. It says, for more in this like pursuit of like becoming a champion, like CKO. But I don't really see how this fits into that, honestly, in any way, shape, or form. It doesn't. Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
I guess my main complaint is that the last chunk feels a bit rushed. Like they were rushed to get to this cliffhanger and this action of them failing to. And don't get me wrong, I'm glad they failed. Black Adam should be one of the toughest people to fight in the DCU, so that makes sense. Unless The Rock's playing him, in which case he should be put down like a
he's easily he's easily managed by just people not seeing him.
Yes. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe, everyone. actual Black Adam's quite high up there, but not so much movie Black Adam.
Yeah. Nope.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, I still quite enjoyed the first like half or so of this book. Like all of the building up of who Red Canary is, the building up of them debating what to do, and like it's effectively kind of accepting to some extent that they are Justice League Red, and this is going to be a thing. Like I actually was digging that well enough. Like I was kind of I'm kind of into this. It's a nice pleasant time, and I like that these characters are getting a bit of a spotlight. I'm curious to learn more about this new character, Red Canary. I mean, again, yeah, we saw her briefly appear in like Beast World or whatever it was, but this is obviously different than that. So I'm still digging what the book's doing overall, but this conclusion definitely felt a bit rushed. I will also say I am feeling a little bit of a pattern here of going back to Red Tornado. He talks for a bit, and then we go out to fight something. Come back to Red Tornado, we talk for a bit, we go back to fight something, which isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just that it's feeling a little bit simplistic,
formulaic.
Yeah. So we'll see if things shake up once they have more of a context about what's going on. But I do suspect Red Tornado has hidden some truth from them yet again about what the true plan is here.
The fact that we get to his full form is this, kind of how you see like the Scarecrow and Wizard of Oz when they go to the witch, kind of torn apart.
I was thinking Ash and Alien. Once he's been dismantled and his head's on the table. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Yeah,
it's like that. And I don't know if just growing up watching The Terminator, I just don't trust androids and robots. So I just feel like we can't trust Red Tornado now because he's given up his humanity. Like the things that made him human, he gave that up to be more of a processing, just to stop all of this. And I just don't trust AI, Yeah,
I think my guess here is that this is all a ploy to make Black Adam join the team somehow. Like this is about convincing Black Adam he needs to be on the team, but I don't know like how we get there, but I mean we'll see, I guess. But definitely good things in here, but definitely a bit more rushed towards the end. And I think that's a fair complaint to make. And Henry's art is what it is. It's not too bad on the head front. I don't necessarily love it though. It's kind of just okay. It's fine for my taste.
Yeah, there was nothing on here that made me like wince. And there's some really good action stuff. I do like the stuff in Kahndaq. I feel like the action sequences go on, and he does some fun stuff. Like at one point, Cyborg has like tank treads. Right, and he's mowing down some of the guards in Kahndaq. So there's some fun stuff there. And then Black Adam with their kryptonite sword to take out Power Girl. I thought that was, a bit much, but at least it looks cool.
Yeah.
So
I mean, as always, it's mostly his faces that I'm not that hot on. Like his Black Adam face, for example, I'm not super into it. It doesn't feel exactly how I picture Black Adam typically, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway, nothing too deep to add to that. What are you giving Justice League Red, Matt?
I'm going to give this a 7.
Yeah, I'm going to go 6.5. Just kind of similar range. Just, it's decent to, and there's things in it that I think are good, but there's enough there that isn't completely hitting for me that I'll say it's just not quite hitting the good mark. So there you go, Justice League Red. Batman Superman World's Finest issue 45, Mark Waid writing with Adrián Gutiérrez on the art. So this issue teases Lex Luthor and Joker teaming up in some form. This was very much an issue of 3/3 for me. One was, it's kind of fun watching Clark and Bruce get, competitive about their teams playing in like whatever sport was it, American football.
Yeah, they're playing football, and I gotta say, the Metropolis team, those uniforms are garbage, man. I do not like them. Yeah. And I wish they had thrown in there that they're owned by Lex, and that's why they're purple and green. Like Lex came in and changed everything.
Yeah, the black and gold Gotham jerseys are much nicer looking. And
yes,
Bruce owns the stadium, not the team, but he does own the stadium. Just worth mentioning. So that was like the first third. It was kind of this like slice of life, like Batman Superman friendly stuff that Waid likes to do. And the middle third is like, okay, Lex is up to something. Joker makes him incomparable with like a ray gun, and he's like, "Hey, Lex, hey, old boy, I need your help." And he's like convincing him to help him steal something because it's ultra powerful, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, this is fine. Like, I don't like it as much as the first chunk, but I think it's a decent enough plot. And then the ending happened, and I was like, oh, F this bullshit. I hate this. What are we doing here? Because we have to fuse Lex and Joker together into some weird hybrid creature thing at the end. I hate to go with that awful Batman Superman hybrid that you already set up, like, arcs and arcs ago.
That said, when we get a dude, and it's got Joker's chin, right? But Lex's bald head, and then like a tuft of green hair coming out like right here.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know if I was supposed to laugh, but it made me laugh.
Yeah.
And yeah, again, I will say, world's finest. If this is where Waid gets all of his bad out so he can do great things elsewhere, I'm fine with that. But yeah, one of the things I did like the middle.
Yeah, I was going to say, one of the things that I liked about the middle part is that I felt like the Joker here was very animated series, Mark Hamill looking like Joker. Like the scowl, the way he was grinning behind Lexi's back, it felt very much like that. It felt like that version of the Joker, and I was enjoying that interpretation. Anyway, they want to steal this artifact or this science technology from Hawkman's museum. Like, that's where they're going to steal it from. So, which I thought was a fun location for them to be pulling off a heist, I suppose. But it's the Absorbicon, and that's ultimately what's going to make them merge into one. So that's the thing. They get to fight Hawkman for a little bit, which is amusing. I love Lex being like, "Oh, I take on like Batman and Superman. Like, you B-listers are nothing." But ultimately, Lex and Joker get away with the thing, and when they go to put the thing on, they fall to the earth, big explosion thing, and then we get the reveal of, yes, Joker Lex hybrid with the tuft of hair, and that's not even the end of the issue. I mean, there's a couple of more pages of they try and like hit him, and they go straight through him, so now they're incorporeal. Like the Joker Lex hybrid's incorporeal as well. Whether that's by choice, like he can phase when he wants to, or if he's just always like that, I don't know. So I don't know. It's funny. We got a question actually a little in advance of this, asking about the incorporeal like rules about falling through the earth and all that, and like I will say, usually you can just ignore that and not think about it because it would just make for something that doesn't need to be answered. However, to be fair, the question is kind of relevant here because when Joker makes Lex phase through things, he does fall through the ground until he gets to like the subway tunnel, and it does beg the question: why wouldn't he keep falling? Like, why stop there? It doesn't matter. Like, if he could fall through some ground, why not all of the ground? But I mean, whatever. Like, who's to say? The answer, I guess, usually would be that, well, if you're incorporeal, gravity doesn't affect you, which I guess means you should be able to fly, but I mean, that's another, can of worms. Let's not deal with that.
Yeah. It's the kind of Speed Forcey, we don't have to explain things. Just go with it.
Yeah, it wasn't my issue with it. I was having enough fun with their interactions that I wasn't too, like, honestly, the first 2/3 of this book I was fine with. It was the last like 4 or 5 pages where I was just like, oh, this is what we've built on. And especially now that I know that we're doing this until at least February, because he's on the cover to the February issue. I'm like, oh, come on, is this really what we're doing?
I wish it was just Lex and Joker throughout this, and it sets up to where the middle part is. Them trying to get along and just being the polar opposite of Superman and Batman, right?
Oh, yeah.
Because they don't like each other, despite having similar goals.
Oh, and Lex
doesn't mess with Joker, and Joker.
Yeah, Lex doesn't want to work with Joker. He's adamant in saying, no, I don't want to work with you. And Joker's like, come on, Lex, like, we can do good things together. He's like, blah, blah, blah. So.
And I love all that stuff. And then they start working together and it starts going well. And they fight Hawkman and it's all great. And I just wish there was just more of that. And then it gets, again, very kind of silly.
Like, it wasn't, like anything amazing up until that point, but it was a solid enough, characters, like voices were good, and it was like fun to see them interact, and the usual kind of thing. Nothing special, but solid. And then the merger happens at the end, and I was like, I hate this. Like, I actually despise this ending so much. This is the bullshit that I don't want in this
Did
book.
we need the tuft of hair on the merged Lex Joker? I don't know. But it's there nonetheless, like Slott from Goonies, right? Slott has that thing up here. So
this is like
also
this is
ha Hacienda.
Oh sure, this is the Silver Age porn.
Yeah.
This is Mark Waid's Silver Age porn. That's what this is.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. In Joker's hideout, he's had these people build this like living space out of bricks that looks like the Joker's face, and he calls it the Hacienda.
Oh yes.
And I thought that was very funny. Again, in the Silver Age shenanigans kind of way.
Yeah, although I did appreciate though that he did mention, oh yeah, an architect built this when I threatened to kill his wife. Like, so I like the dark bit of humor that's attached to it. It's not just the visual itself.
Yeah.
And Lex's reaction to him having like, this is so gaudy. Like, I'm like, dude, you build a skyscraper and put your giant name like on the side of it. You're not that much better. Just because it's not your big bald head doesn't make it that much different.
Right? Well, and then he tells him to have a seat. And there's a seat with a whoopee cushion. And Lex doesn't sit down. And he goes, you're a man of dignity. I respect that. So again, it was very animated series, Mark Hamill Joker.
Yeah.
You know, and I was really enjoying that vibe. So, but yeah, it's again, World's Finest is the least apt name for this book. You know,
well, it's especially a shame this month because we really liked that one issue last time. You know, with the Batgirl and the Supergirl and Robin stuff. Was good fun.
Yeah.
So, hey, all right, we're giving World's Finest, Matt.
I'm gonna give this 6.5.
What do I want to give it? I'm going to say 5.5.
Oof.
I hate the ending that much. The ending like tanks this a full like 1.5 for me. I would have happily slapped a nice 7 on this for the rest of the issue, and then it hit me with that. I just no. I'm like it's like kryptonite to me. So there you go.
Fair.
The New Gods, issue 12, Ram V writing with Evan Cagle and Phil Hester on the art. The final issue of The New Gods, although the ending does promise that the New Gods will return in some form. So that there is something planned, presumably, for maybe post-KO or something down the line. Whether that's more Ram V work or it's just like the DC in general have plans for the New Gods, who knows? But regardless, it does give you that little bit of hope at the end for more New God stuff. So yeah, this is the big climax. The opening kind of flashback sort of just reiterates the history of Mr. Miracle and Orion, and that Orion was trying to prove himself but hide like his true face because he was ashamed of who he really was, and that was kind of the story of his life. Whereas Mr. Miracle was constantly trying to escape, and he kept escaping. He kept getting caught. You know, he didn't get free until much later, but this idea that he would, whatever trap they put him in, whatever cage they put him in, he would find a way out because he's scot-free, and knowing that he can get free is what makes him feel free, and, you know, yada, yada, yada. So, all that's good stuff, but then it gets to the main bulk of it, which is, you know, the new god baby or toddler fighting Orion, and to the point where when Orion tries to talk him down, thinking, you know, maybe he'll break through to him, we get this gorgeous silent page where the new god baby fires a beam of, you know, whatever through Orion's chest, and it's just this gorgeous like, you know, like purple blue background with a silhouette, and then close-ups of their faces, and then you just straight up see like we're looking at the new god through the hole in his like back. We can see him almost like that moment in Shaun of the Dead when you like the zombie gets stabbed with the pipe, and you can see the characters through the hole in the body. This is exactly that moment.
See through.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's good stuff.
And he looks back and then just keeps going into that void.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh man, Orion really wasn't the guy for this. You know?
No.
As much as we thought that they had, you know, in that issue, they had some understanding that whatever Lord has done to Kamal, to this new god kid, he is going and embracing whatever's there. And I was like, oh, there was a sense of hopelessness here. Where I was like, oh man. I mean, maybe there's a reason this is the last issue.
This book has been at its best when the ideas feel so big like this, and this felt like big and cosmic and like larger than life. Mr. Miracle defeats Desaad, and obviously goes after and sees what's going on with the others, with Orion and the kid. And ultimately, Mr. Miracle makes the choice to go into the singularity, to go into the black hole and get the kid, and says that it's okay if it is Darkseid that's in there. He's been escaping Darkseid his whole life. Like, this is what he's for. So he does, and it's just this beautiful thing where Maxwell Lord acknowledges that he's lost his connection to the kid. So the kid's actually just now scared. Like, this kid's just himself and terrified and thinking about his parents and whatever. And seeing visions of like a world on fire with just like Darkseid eyes like glaring over the skyscrapers. Like, really, really cool stuff. Obviously, this is teasing the possible future that we might get to, where, you know, like whether this is the absolute universe or what he's going to do to the main universe with his absolute universe. But regardless, just as this kid's been like devoured into the nothing, into the black, Mr. Miracle's hand reaches in and grabs him and pulls him out. And, you know, and Mr. Miracle's like, you know, throughout the book narrating about how, he's always worried about, is he a good father? Because obviously his father gave him up, so he has all these abandonment issues and all the rest of it. So it feels really nice to have these moments where he's like saving the kid. And this is all building up to Orion, who is fine. You know, his body's kind of reformed, although he's got a pretty big scar on his chest. Yeah. He's like, you know what? You asked me to be High Father, but I'm not the person for the job. Like, Scott Free should be the new High Father. And that's kind of like the big bombshell towards the end of the issue, that he's saying, hey, he's the guy who should take the job. Give him the staff. Really good. And there's also this like dueling, like this conversation, which is clearly in the past tense, which I think turns out to be Orion and Metron talking about this choice that he made in the future, and say, I think you made the right choice, but this is kind of, and Orion's like, no, my purpose is to take down Darkseid. Like, one day I'm going to kill that son of a bitch. And, you know, he goes off with Metron, and that's kind of the end. I've glossed over like through the whole thing there just to sum it up, but like, big stuff.
So the parts of me that of this that really spoke to me, right, was there the last page of the Phil Hester stuff, where we have the dual pages of Orion and Scott Free on New Genesis, on Apocalypse, and just to show how they're different, right? It's not just that they're inverse images of each other, right? Where Orion's right side up and Scott Free's upside down, but Orion's saying, I'm afraid every time I see my own reflection of all the things I can become. And that's complemented by Scott Free saying, but I have no fear at all. Don't you see? That's what it means to be free, right? As they are the ultimate complement of each other, right? And it's almost the sense of they need each other more than they need to, you know, more than Orion needs to become High Father or to destroy Darkseid or whatever, is that they need to do whatever they need to do together. So when we get that where Orion says, no, you go, right? Like this, I clearly failed, you know, you go and get that kid. You're the one that can do it. I just love that, you know, because it is them working together. And then also where Scott gets free of Desaad, it's because he brings up Tom King's Mr. Miracle, right? Where he's like, look, I look at things as a binary, right? It's either I'm free or I'm not free. And pain's its own state of existence, right? It's not a box to check. And I've lived in pain, and it gets to the crux of like the depression of Scott Free in that book. And we even get like the Garrett's like digitizing here on that page as he's explaining, you know, what this pain is. And like, that's a pain that Desaad is not familiar with. That pain of existence and living through it, but choosing to go anyways, right? Getting up and taking care of your kid and you know, him reuniting with Barda, and that's everything that he does. And he's able to power through and deliver, you know, that you know, knockout punch to Desaad.
Yeah,
it's all really good stuff.
Yeah, calling back to that distortion of like, you know, representing Scott Free's like pain and doubt and all that is a really nice touch, because even though that Mr. Miracle book isn't exactly in continuity per se, the idea that brought back Darkseid is like a big thing that has now come up several times in the discussion of Darkseid. But also this idea of how we treat Scott, and the fact that even though the kid's not the exact same kid, the fact that Scott and Barda have a kid feels like, you know, the reason I think that's concrete in continuity now is because everyone read that book and said, yeah, Bardin's got to have a kid now. That should be a thing that we have. So no, I really do like them calling back to that, and because I think for a lot of people, and I kind of include myself in this, I feel like that Mr. Miracle book was kind of like the gateway into the New Gods of the modern DCU.
Absolutely.
So I'm pleased that that's still been kind of treated as this kind of linchpin in the whole thing. The other big thing that I didn't really mention is that when they do get the kid back and they go down to Earth, and they're like, hey, that Armada, the Nectari are all trying to invade, and like, you know, we need to stop them. This New God kid's supposed to be able to do that, and like, we don't know if we should send them up there. Is that like cruel or what? And Wonder Woman gives him the lasso to sort of say, hey, like, sometimes this helps me know my truth. And it's basically just the kid. The kid takes it and then seemingly turns into an adult-sized New God and flies up and just explodes in white to take out the entire Armada. And it's this idea of like everything's being reset for them, where it's not just that they're dying in an explosion. It's like all of the hate, the pain, and the misery's all been taken away and reset back to a time before everything was like corrupted and made miserable and everything. Really, again, really big heady concepts that Ram V loves to put in. But
yeah, because we get that part here where he says, you know, and with that he shows the Nectari, the true opposite of annihilation, the source in perhaps its purest form. And he says, unlike the Alpha Force, the source does not seek to create, destroy, or remake. It is not concerned with matter at all, only potential, not what you are, but the things you could be. And that's how I took this, is that he took that. He is this pure being of the source, and he took his ultimate potential to give, you know, the Nectari their potential, right? That they don't have to do all this stuff, right? And he's not remaking them or undoing them or whatever. He's just showing them, what's it say? Like that it's, you know, right here where he says, in the final moment, every motive of his being remembers a time before the darkness, a memory thrumming with the innocence of the pre-creation, right? And he just basically undoes them, all their pain, everything, and unleashes all of their potential. And then he goes back and we see him as a kid again, right? On the last page, his dad's holding him.
Yeah, he doesn't stay in this form.
So,
he goes up and does what he's supposed to do, and now he'll still get to grow up, presumably. But it's this idea of like, you know, if this is literally just like the source light that he's igniting, is an interesting concept that he just has that inside him. It's I don't know, it's big, it's bold, it's interesting. But the book ends with the book ends with Orion leaving with Metron to go off and you know, like, let's go see what your potential is, go see what your possibilities are, with the ultimate goal of taking down Darkseid. So and the same with Scott, like, we don't see if he accepts the staff. We don't know. We just see shocked reaction when he's offered the staff and offered the role of Highfather. And then, you know, when when Highfather stepped down, now he's just Isaiah, right? And, you know, he fulfilled his potential. He was the Highfather, right? And now he's passing it to his two sons. And what are they going to do? They are so different, right? I just love that. It's a very nice, you know, with how he's playing with the concept of mythology and stuff. It almost feels like Ram V has cemented what, you know, Orion and Scott Free now mean to the New Gods, you know, with this potential. But yeah, and that's weird to say, considering these characters are like 50 years old and stuff. But even in on that, when Seraphin, who's the guy that turned the kid over to Max Lord, was like, I did this because I wasn't given a choice, right? That I was thrusted this new goddom on me, a kid from Earth, and it messed me up. And this kid deserves to make his own choice, not have it thrust upon him, right? And again, it gets to the idea of a choice, even though this kid doesn't get the choice because it was taken away when Seraphin, you know. Yeah, although I would point out, though, there's all this. The way you started that, I think, is kind of just glosses over the fact that he's making it, because when he's confronted when they find him, he says that you're searching for like something that showed that I was coerced or I was controlled into doing this. So his point is that he made a choice to do this. Like, he did choose to do this. So I would like to emphasize that it wasn't like he was compelled for any other reason other than he believed it was the right thing to do, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, there's all this stuff in here, and I was just like, damn, I need more New Gods now. I've gotten a taste, you know, and we've had this for a year now, for 12 issues. And everything that's been set up, you know, I need more New Gods. So I guess that is a grand seal of approval, right? When it leaves you wanting that much more.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only, like, it's obviously been a very good book. I mean, some issues have been phenomenal. The only thing I could say negatively really is that if the only thing I have to compare it to is another New Gods book is that Mr. Miracle book. I do think that Mr. Miracle book is even better, but that's, you know, it's not even that big of a deal. It's just a point of comparison, really, because this is going for something very different. This is doing a grand big story that's trying to advance all of the New God stuff, whereas Mr. Miracle's more of a personal story about this, you know, one person / family in the midst of all this New God bullshit. Yeah. So they're going for very, very different things. But yeah, that's very good. Very good. And the art, as per usual, from Cagle and the main part of the book is very solid, particularly the stuff in space this issue. Because that was probably my least favorite stuff last time, was that I felt like the action was just a little bit like whatever. But here it felt like the big moments really hit hard, both emotionally and from like an art perspective. So, no, really good. We give New Gods issue 12.
I'm going to do this at 9.5.
All right, okay. I think I'm going to go 8.5 on this one. It's excellent. It's very good, but I don't think it's the best issue of the book, though. I think there's a couple of issues earlier on that I would say are the better issues, so I'm going to go 8.5. So cool. Batman issue 3, legacy number 931, Matt Fraction writing with Jorge Jiménez on the art. So the big cliffhanger at the end of last issue was that, you know, Tim had that alteration with the cops and Batman showed up, and then they tried, Vandal Savage clearly trying to frame it as Batman and Robin have killed some police officers, so now we're anti-Batman and Robin, it's all out war on the bats. This issue starts with a teenager in one of the apartments nearby recording his grandmother on the phone for some school project or something. And he hears gunshots outside and actually like goes out and films, and it kind of looks from his perspective that Batman and Robin might have done this, because when he goes outside after the gunshots, there's cops lying on the ground and Batman and Robin are fleeing the scene of the crime. But he also seems to be filming when the rest of the police and that show up and Vandal Savage is there, and we clearly see Vandal Savage pull out a batarang from his pocket and shove it into the dead body. The kid seems to have been filming during this, and we do get a small scene later on when he goes to someone who lives in his building who happens to be a journalist and is like, hey, I've got something you might want to see. It's a news-related thing.
I just love that no matter what, corrupt cops are still corrupt cops. Like, for all the life that Vandal Savage has lived, he's still literally pulling the battering out of his pocket, looking around, and then putting it in the crime scene. Like, it is still such funny kind of Keystone Cop behavior.
Yeah, he's also going to the cop that lived. Is in the hospital, and Vandal Savage goes to him and says, "You're going to say Batman did this, or I'm going to kill you right now in this hospital bed." That's the gist of the scene. So again, he's laying on thick.
He crimps the oxygen tube going to the oxygen mask, and then it starts, the guy starts flatlining and whatnot. So yeah, again, some real bad cop stuff here. I love it.
Yeah, and then Bruce then is at the hospital to visit Tim, because Tim obviously did get shot, so he is getting some medical attention.
And worked over, right? Because it was him versus the prisoners.
That's true, yeah, true. I would assume it's mainly the gunshot. Well, I mean, don't have Alfred anymore, but I assume they can treat the bruises and the scrapes and,
Yeah, well, because it's just Bernard's there to also see Tim.
Yeah, and Bernard gives Bruce a telling off and says, every time Tim spends a weekend with you, he comes back hurt. And I'm like, wait, does Bernard think that Bruce has been abusive? Because that's what it kind of sounds like.
That's what it sounded like to me, because he goes, this is what happens when you go down a mountain on your face and not your skis. And so, that also sounds like something that an abused person would say. Right? Like, I fell down the mountain on my own.
Yeah. feels like Tim might have to fess up about some of his life to Bernard later on in the story if this is going to get cleared up. Because I don't know how you clear Bruce here in his eyes without Tim being like, okay, by the way, I'm a vigilante. I get beat up a lot. It's not Bruce. Like, just, you know?
Yeah. Because he says whenever you and Tim go off on your little bro weekends, he comes back beaten up to hell. It's weird, isn't it? Whenever he spends time with you, he gets hurt. And it's like, oh, this kid's putting it together. This is not good for Bruce.
Well, I don't know if he's put it together, because I think he just thinks Bruce is abusive. Yeah. Frankly.
Well, that's what I mean. There's something up that he's noticing, right? Like, which again, that's smart writing from Faction. Like, if you're gonna have, these close relationships with the characters, it would make sense that Bernard would pick up on stuff like this. And he is visiting, because I forgot about the whole Bernard thing. So when we go there and there's this kid, and I was like, oh yeah, that started in one of the side,
Oh yeah. If they didn't say what his name was here, I could never have told you the name of this character.
But just the idea that Tim and Bernard have still been doing things and hanging out and doing, whatever the extent of their relationship was. I don't know if they were officially together, because I didn't keep reading that. That was in the Gotham book, where they had all the anthology style ones. But yeah, that's good that writers like Faction bring that back in and remind you there's the bigger world, that's ongoing. It's not just Bruce and Tim on Bat and Robin adventures. Yeah.
So on TV, they're debating Batman and Robin and whether or not he's a psychopath and blah, blah, blah. Hugo Strange. Apparently, Hugo Strange has got his name cleared enough that he's on TV shows now. Because this is still in continuity. This is not like we're doing a year one story where no one knows Hugo Strange is a psychopath.
And it seems like he's kind of the voice of reason here, which is weird.
Well, kind of, but he's a voice of reason in a very anti-Batman and Robin way.
Yes.
So, but the scientist lady's on there talking about her tech to try and make the insane sane, and that's obviously something we were tapping into with the that issue 1 Clayface story that we got.
Killer Croc.
Oh, sorry, Killer Croc. Yeah, I knew it was one of the big monstery ones. But yeah. So she's going on about this and how, because they're arguing, hey, Wayne's funding you, blah 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 blah. Does that mean he gets a say in what you're researching? And she's like, no, it's just a donation. He has no say in what we're doing. So that sets some things up as well. We get a scene of Bruce and Damian training, and Bruce is distracted by everything going on, and he's clearly the fact that Tim's been this hurt and now he's been confronted by it, and he's seen these debates on TV. He's really thinking about his role in all this. We also see Gordon make a call to Bullock to put up the quote-unquote bat signal, which turns out to be like a little toy bat stuck to his window, which is the stealth bat signal, because obviously they can't just light the big light right now.
Yep. Well, and I love when they get up to the rooftop and Bullock's like, all that time we had that big old floodlight, and now we just use a stuffed animal. And Gordon starts going, well, really, it was like a symbol for others to know that Batman and Bullock kind of cut him off. I thought that was very funny.
Yeah, but he's right though. I mean, as soon as Bullock made that joke, I'm like, yeah, but it wasn't about just that. This is not about, because the only way to get in touch with them is the big light. It's about this, the symbolic thing of everyone knowing he's out there, and Batman even says it was Gordon's idea, to have the big symbolic thing. So so basically they talk about what's going on, and that Savage is like declaring hunting season on bats and all that. Things are super corrupt. But there's a really funny gag here where Bullock says, wait, how are you going to disappear on his Batman? This is a tiny roof. There's no way you can do it. And then Batman says, oh, that woman's getting, that car's trying to hit that woman. And they all look down and they're like, holy shit. And then it's like, no, wait, no, they're not. And then they turn around and Batman's gone. And he's like, son of a bitch.
Funny, very bleeping funny.
Yes.
Out of Bullock, yeah.
Yeah, I guess you like that. And then the final big sequence is that Riddler's broke into the lab building and is, assaulting security guards and whatnot. Batman shows up, punches him a bunch of times. He's got a stealth suit. We're continuing this, tech box with the various things that he has. He beats up Riddler, solves his riddles, and it turns out Riddler was coming here to steal this tech that he saw her talk about on TV, because he wants to calm down his brain. Like, he keeps hearing riddles, yeah. Like, he has to talk in riddles. He's always thinking a million miles a minute, and he wants to take it away. So it's just an idea that maybe some of the villains want this, but he reveals that some of the other villains have had this tested on them. So the issue ends with Batman on his way to Arkham because that's where there's been some testing. And is it ethical that these tests have been happening at Arkham? It doesn't feel like it is ethical, and that's why Batman's maybe a bit miffed about it. So you get a big full-page spread of him driving off, talking to Alfred in his head. There was also one moment with Ghost Alfred earlier where Damien in training won the fight by kicking him in the nuts. And Bruce said, Alfred, did I ever do that to you? He's like, not physically, but spiritually, many times.
Yeah, God. I do like when people bring a sense of humor to Batman, and not just Bruce, but like through the other characters. So here we get Gordon and Bullock and the Ghost of Alfred, you know, and I really like the Riddler stuff because the riddles he was speaking in aren't what you would think of as Riddler riddles, right? It's just like he's just saying things in this manic state. So I automatically clocked something was up, you know? And then so when Bruce finally gets to him and hits him with the sedative, you know, it's almost like an act of mercy, you know, because he's like, hours. This has been going on for hours.
He also has a bit of paper on him that's all riddles, but when Batman solves the riddles, it's basically just a shopping list. It's like eggs, milk, bread are the answers because he has to do everything in riddles, and he's trying to make that stop. He's trying to make the voices stop, effectively. I think that's an interesting concept. I will say, though, that I probably think this is the least favorite of the 3 issues so far. Just purely because, while I like most of the individual parts, I like what he's doing with, like, you know, I like what he's doing with the Vandal Savage Cop stuff. I like what he's doing with the kid witnessing that. I like what he's doing with this Riddler wanting the technology. I like what he's doing with Batman questioning himself and, like, being a bit off his game. All of this stuff individually I like. It's just that I think as a whole, this issue doesn't feel as like tight as like a full story. It feels very much as just lots of little parts that are the next part of the story, as opposed to a full meal that I think both issues 1 and 2 offered quite well.
It feels like a bridge between things. Like this is the in between to get to the next big chunk. But it feels less standalone-y too, like the first 2 did.
Yes.
You know, those felt like a very episodic. You know, kind of not even freak of the week, but like thing of the month, right? Like it's the last one was Robin versus the crooked cops, and the first one was Batman chasing down Killer Croc, and then there's been these little serialized pieces. This one felt like more of the serialized pieces, you know.
Yeah, it was I think it would be very difficult for someone who's not read issue 1 and 2 to get anything out of this issue, because everything relies kind of on you being familiar with what's going on. Whereas issue 1 and 2, well, they had little serialized bits in them, they primarily were this A-plot that could be enjoyed on its own, which I don't think's a big deal in the sense that, like, obviously I'm reading them all the issues anyway, and I think that they should reward you for reading all the issues, but it's just a case of, like, they felt so nice to read as a monthly issue because they did have a full kind of chapter to themselves, as well as the little serialized bits. So... yeah, so I would probably say this is the weakest of the 3 issues. Still very good, though. I still like everything it's doing. It just isn't as tight and as like this amazing structure that the last couple have been. So maybe it's just a necessary evil because he has to set up a bunch of stuff before what we're doing next. Maybe we're off to Arkham. Maybe the next issue is going to mostly take place there or whatever.
Yeah.
But
and this device, I don't know if you mentioned the device. It's like this helmet that has electrodes that go into the brain, and it disrupts patterns of thinking. Right, like it gets in there on the cellular level, and that's why Hugo Strange is saying, like, if he had done this to Van Gogh, he wouldn't have painted Starry Night. And the doctor that created this device is like, yeah, he also wouldn't have died at 37. You know, like there's nothing sexy about bad mental health. You know, and so it was very weird to see Hugo Strange talk about, like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't be messing with this kind of stuff, but it's also Hugo Strange who's done really bad things. So
yeah, he likes messing with people's minds. I feel like if this was his idea, he'd be all for it. This is
100%. He just doesn't like it because she beat him to it. Yeah. So, but yeah, I like that whole sequence. And again, I do feel like this doctor does have like good things in mind. I just think that she's underestimating the people of Gotham, like the people that are in Arkham for a reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, maybe this will give us a glimpse into like a sane version of some of these characters. I would be very bold to use it on the Joker. I kind of hope they don't do that. Maybe they can tease it, perhaps, that hey, this will make Joker sane for 24 hours. What do we do with that idea, kind of thing? But yeah, not bad, Ben. I mean, obviously the art is very good still. Jiménez kind of kills it, makes it a lot very fun, very vivid, very colorful. So no complaints there.
I love the sequence with Bruce and Damian fighting. Just the way that like there's the panel right when he kicks him in the crotch. Right above it, we have them fighting across the screen and talking about the different subjects, and I thought that was very well paced. Like Jiménez is pretty good at this type of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the only critique I'd give the art is not really an art critique. It's more just that because this issue is what it is, it doesn't have as big bombastic things for it to do, you know, in the art. But that's not the art's fault. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the biggest page is that splash page. It's the one page of the stealth suit, right?
Yeah.
When he's kind of materializing. And then that's really the only one that comes to mind. Everything else are these kind of smaller moments.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do a big thing with the last page, but even the last page looks good, but like it did kind of feel like this isn't like an amazing cliffhanger. It's just kind of like this is the best thing you could come up with based on where the story's ending here for now. Yeah. So yeah, off to Arkham we go. Off to see the Ark, the wonderful Ark of Ham.
The doctors, I would say the wonderful doctors of Ark.
All right, man. What do you give Batman issue 3?
I'm gonna give this a straight 8.
Yeah, I think I. No, I think I'm going to dock it just slightly to 7.5. Okay. Just for the reasons I mentioned, that it feels like a collection of interesting and good story bits, but not something that feels as cohesive as a whole in a satisfying way that I think issues 1 and 2 were. Well, it's still good though. Like I'm not really complaining per se. So that's cool. Batgirl issue 13. Tate Brombal writing with Takeshi Miyazawa on the art. So interesting structure to this one. It kind of like, you know, frames it around like the mission that Cass and the rest of the team are on to go into the Unburied's you know, headquarters, their hideout in this mountain. And some fun stuff here. The first page is like Cass diving down from a mountain. Art's gorgeous. But it flashes back to some of the conversations they were having in Samsara with Nyssa about what to do and like whether or not they should go and deal with these poppies. Like, can we stop, get rid of the supply? We don't have to kill anyone or anything like that if we do it right. So, you know, but we also see Cass training and stuff, which she's got like her, I guess we'll call it the sporty version of her outfit, where she's taking the sleeves off and she's got like a crop top on, but she's still got the mask on, which I thought was an interesting look.
It definitely feels like she's been hanging out with the birds, right? This seems like a Black Canary influence of some kind, you know?
Yeah, I can see that for sure. But you see that she's still thinking about her past, thinking about her time as a kid being forced to kill someone, thinking about her mother and the Unburied, and getting really kind of agitated and wound up. And it continues this idea as well of the shapeshifter character, who, you know, Jade Tiger's not really sure if they should trust her. And the reason why he has that opinion is we flash back and we see that when he was training and she came up to talk to him, she started shifting into his mother, into Bronze Tiger, into Cass even, and trying to convince him that he's basically try and just put a rift between him and Cass and the people that he cares about. Yeah. Oh, you're the child that was hidden away. You're not the one that was loved or meant to ever, you know, be important or anything like that.
Right. Which is hilarious because then Cass feels the opposite, that he was the one that got the love because he was raised by his dad in this loving environment while she was turned into a weapon. Right. So yeah, I just very, very curious. That's what Tate Brombal's focusing in on here to try to drive the wedge between them. The
grass is always greener on the other side, right? Like that's the idea here. So yeah, I mean, we see...
and although Jade Tiger started off as this character, I was going to say Jade Tiger started as this character that I found was like, okay, what are we doing here? And now he's grown on me. Just kind of his naivety, you know, it's almost like he's experiencing the world for the first time, you know, and it's such an opposite to Cass, who has lived this entire life in her short, like we think she's like what, like 1920 at the oldest, right?
Some of that.
So just the balance between those two as well. So, but yeah.
Yeah, so we see them sneaking in. The shapeshifter gets, tricks one of them. Actually, there's another flashback to, what's her face, Angel Breaker talking to Nyssa. And we see that Angel Breaker kisses Nyssa, and seemingly there's some kind of a relationship here. Yeah. Nyssa talks a lot about being the forgotten daughter and wanting to be the one that, you know, like, does what... what Ra's al Ghul wanted to do with Samsara but never accomplished, but her way. But Nissa does kind of reject the kiss and walks out, and says, no, there's no time for this kind of thing. But we see more action. Cass taking on some of these guards at the Unburied, and then they all steal their outfits, all their blue ninja outfits, so they can sneak in to the place. And there's a big 2-page spread once they get inside of this like marketplace. It looks like a whole town, and this was something they revealed an issue or two ago, of course, where it was like, hey, they have children, they have like a civilization in here. It's not just a bunch of ninjas.
Yeah, it's a culture.
Yeah. So, they go looking around and they're seeing different things, and the thing that catches Cassie's eye is that they're putting on like a sort of puppet show that's saying the history of the Unburied, and it reveals, seemingly, that Nissa has been telling some fibs here about exactly who Samsara belongs to. And like the Unburied story as it goes, and they're not, they're telling this to their own children, so you could argue maybe it is kind of like propaganda internally, but there's not much reason to lie in the grand scheme of things. They're saying, no, Ra's al Ghul and Nissa al Ghul like came, took her home, killed tons of people, there was bloodshed, and then says that there was kind of a war with them, but ultimately the person that came in and defeated the Unburied and like forced them out of their home was the, what did they call her finally? The Destroyer arrived, they say. And then you turn the page and the puppet that pops out is a puppet of Lady Shiva. So the big reveal here is that Lady Shiva might have like forced this entire culture out of their home and driven them to the mountains. So all of a sudden, this idea of the Unburied just being a bunch of villains who, had beef with Lady Shiva over something petty, it's like, oh no, they have got some legitimate grievances, one might say, about, what this is. So Cass basically has a panic attack. She starts like hyperventilating, and like one of the others has to come up and be like, "Oh, Cass, you're," and she's having flashbacks to when she was forced to kill someone as a kid. She's basically saying, "Oh God, my mother's like even beyond the grave, trying to make me into someone who like I don't want to be like." She wanted me to help, Nissa. She wanted me to help Samsara. But now it turns out that they took Samsara from other people, and she's maybe on the wrong side here. So she's having this kind of like, the background's all red and stuff. It looks very bloody, and she's having visions of her mother. And the issue ends with Cagle the Unseen, like the big, guy from the Unburied arriving back, and Cass grabs her sword because this is the one that kills Shiva. And is like easy, and that's been like a running thing. She keeps saying easy as she's like jumping down and infiltrating. But here it kind of feels like, you just saw enough to maybe make you pause and not want to just attack this guy. But she clearly still has this passion from seeing her mother be killed. So
yeah, I like that the background on her in that final panel is that same red that's behind her as the kid covered in blood, and then Shiva.
Yeah, the little like, visions she's having have those same backgrounds. Yeah, it does make me very curious about like, obviously there's going to be a fight here next issue, but I do wonder if Cass will ultimately yield and not want to kill him when she sort of like is able to like center herself and realize that this is like, obviously yes, this guy killed her mom. It was very brutal and all that, but at the same time now she has a lot more context for it, and she's a better person than this guy perhaps is, and certainly better than her mother was.
Well, and they fought before, and he wrecked her.
That's also true.
He so, and that everything that he said, he was not lying, right, about Shiva, because we got a version of that story early on, how Ra's al Ghul came, wiped out the Unburied, and then Shiva came to finish the job, and that's why they're coming for revenge against the Order of Shiva, trying to take her out. And turns out that, as we're seeing, there might be, they always say that there's 3 sides, right? Side A, side B, and then the truth is somewhere in between. It's starting to feel like the Unburied are more of the truthful side, judging from Nissa and all that stuff.
I mean, maybe they've been a bit too ruthless, and that's why they did look like villains early on, but certainly, obviously seeing the fact that they have entire families, children here, and it's like a little community, like all of a sudden it doesn't seem like, oh, they're just this evil group of ninjas who are trying to take over the world. If anything, they just want their home back for the most part.
Yeah. And they wanted to be left alone with their blue poppies. that give them magic powers. Is that so much to ask?
I mean, that part sounds a little unhealthy, I'll admit, but otherwise.
Yeah, true. But yeah, I the fact that nothing is as it seems, and that seems to be the theme through this issue, like with Nyssa and Angel Breaker, the shapeshifter, Jay Tiger and his experience in all of this.
Yeah.
So I do like that. And Cass here having a panic attack, which I don't think that's a new thing, right? Like we've seen her have hesitations, but to have a full blown, like she can't control her body, that's something new to her.
Yeah, this felt like almost like a Kill Bill style, like, seeing red moment, but mixed with a panic attack where she's having these flashbacks, but then she sees the guy that killed her mom and it's like, oh, it's on time now. But it's like, but think about what you've just been seeing, Cass. Like maybe now's the time to not be who your mother was or be who they were. Like be you, be Cassandra Cain, be daughter of the Bat kind of thing. And it feels like, I'm excited to see her kind of get to the end of her arc here and like sort of get to the point where she makes the choice of being who she wants to be, because it feels like right now everything, even the Shiva, like after her death, is still kind of pushed her into this corner of doing her bidding in some way. Yeah,
I feel like the thing is that she has to make her own decision. She can't do. She has to do what's right, like you said. Embrace being the daughter of the Bat, because that's what she picked. Right, that's her identity.
It's fitting that she's seeing a puppet show to reveal a lot of this, because it feels like she is in some ways a puppet. To her parents who have both made her do awful things. So, yeah. And honestly, at this point, I'm like, is Shiva really dead? Was that all just some like ploy to convince her? I mean, that would shock me, to be honest, at this point.
Like when we're dealing with any of the All Ghouls, I don't believe anybody's fully dead, right? Because they're just a Lazarus pit away or whatever. Like we don't know. And yeah, again, and the fact that Calden completely wrecked Cass the first time they fought and like, took away her kind of her fight vision where she can see the moves coming, like she knows that now that he can do that. So is it going to be more of a fair fight? Like, is she going to come to her senses and not even want to fight? Is this a time for a conversation and not a fight?
I suspect there'll be some fighting first, but there will be some interesting discussions after the fact. I just wonder if Jade gets, jumps in and maybe gets hurt or something to kind of, raise some stakes or maybe calm things down. Who's to say, but very intriguing all the same.
I will say that none of these sects of hidden ninjas are 100% good, right? They all have something off to them, which I do appreciate too, because it would be really easy to paint the Unburied as these, they did nothing wrong and now they're just trying, but they've done some things. It feels like
shades of grey.
They're not
and all that. They're definitely not just goody two shoes. There's at least the people who are out doing the soldiering aren't goody two shoes at the very least.
Yes, well, because we've even seen that with the Order of Shiva, right? Where like there's a whole community there, people that are helping other people, and Shiva's like the greatest fighter killer on the planet, right? So, just the fact that there's good and bad to all of these, But yeah, again, Cass tends to be one of these characters that is so layered, and we can get so much of the story through her eyes, through, what does all this mean? It's really cool.
Yeah, and I think that they've established here that Angel Breaker's probably especially loyal to Nyssa, so if Cass and maybe the others do start to feel like they're not on that side anymore, I suspect more conflict from that as well, so, that'll be a thing, but yeah, and the art's great as per usual. The snippets of action we do get of like Cass diving and taking out the guards looks gorgeous, but this was not an action-heavy issue. I suspect, though, we're probably going to get a decent amount next issue based on how this ends. So, Matt, what are you giving Batgirl issue 13?
I am giving this an 8.5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of I love where it ends. I'm going to be a bit more conservative and say just an 8, but obviously very good. So, good stuff. Absolute Green Lantern issue 8. Al Ewing writing with Jahnoy Lindsay back on the art after one issue of Riley Rosmo. And this issue, obviously, well, it kind of goes back to the cliffhanger from the previous issue, but not really. It kind of ends with that again. Because it said effectively what it does is in that moment where Joe shows up to Cameron's apartment, it does this like, okay, we're going to tell you the history of them and how they met and a little bit of how Joe left the town in the first place. So we see her as a kid moving to the town with her dad. Her dad seems to be quite strict and conservative, and this idea that he's like, oh, you have to show restraint. You have to have willpower. You have to have this. That young idiot Hal Jordan, he's never going to amount to anything. He has no willpower. Which made me laugh. Which, fun enough, in this, technically he doesn't, in a sense, because he wasn't chosen by the Greens, so I guess he's right, in a sense.
Well, and it's just the going, because they make quick friends with him when she's a kid. And he's like, oh, I'm going to be a pilot. And the dad's like, he just does what he wants. He has no power, no restraint. You need restraint. He's like, but Dad, he's going to be a pilot. He told me. And then the next thing he's like, I'm going to be a cop, a space cop. Which, haha, he's a Green Lantern in traditional continuity.
Yeah.
But just the fact that he's judging this kid, like kids don't know what they're going to be, So I thought that was a real funny back and forth between Joe and her dad.
So the main gist of this is that she ends up growing up to be a cop herself, right? And she joins the force, and there's a young Renee Montoya there in the department. And part of the plot is about her because she clearly is attracted to her. And I think the art does a really good job here of showing that she's kind of, glaring at her a little bit, a bit too long. And when they end up walking back together after like one of the guys going away parties, she does, go in for a kiss, right? Renee goes in for a kiss, and Joe kind of pulls away, and you get the sense that she's not really thought about this about herself yet, or maybe she's like sort of hiding it a little bit because her dad, is who she, because it flashes to her dad saying something when the kiss happens, and she pulls away, and Montoya kind of says, oh, maybe I'm not that good a detective, maybe that, I've misjudged that you're gay or whatever, and kind of steps away. But then Montoya leaves, goes to other cities to go be a bigger detective, and it's fine. But the other part of this plot is that the current chief of police in Evergreen is a corrupt piece of shit who takes collection money from like everyone in town. Like every business, every store have to hand over some money, and Jon Stewart gets out of trouble because he tries to speak up against it, and they say, oh, you're drunk, Jon Stewart, even though he's quoting like really complex like passages from the law book.
It's Chief Stewart is sober as a judge. He gave me a whole lecture on the origins of due process. You can't just throw him in the cell for no reason. And then guys like, yeah, no, leave me out of this. And also, did you pick up that the corrupt chief is Black Hand?
Yeah, I did. Hand? Yeah, I did notice the name Hand. Yes, it did stick out to me.
There's a thematic element here where the first page of this book has the different colors, right? Black that has Cameron in there, which was the cliffhanger of it's all about that big zero inside you. Then the red with the dad saying you need restraint. Green, which is Joe crying, says I just want to do the right thing. And then the gold of I don't understand anything. And anytime Joe is going through any one of these emotions,
it flashes back
pops
to
up,
one of them. Yeah,
I really love. So like when she notices that Renee is staring at her, it goes to the gold. I don't understand anything, right? Because she's conflicted about her feelings. And then when she leans in for the kiss, it's the dad in the red. And then when she explains to Renee about she doesn't even know what's going on. It's the I just want to do the right thing. So yeah, very fun thematic with the colors. Yep. Kind of reminds you what they're standing for through Joe's entire life.
Yeah, her dad's very frustrating as well because when she tells her dad about how Hand, the chief of police, is a piece of shit, and points out that he's very racist as well, the dad's just like, oh, that's a misunderstanding, I'm sure. And obviously this is a black man saying that, so it sticks out as being very kind of dismissive.
Yeah.
But ultimately, she wants to get away. This town's beating her down because of all the corruption. So she goes to, I think it was Coast City she goes to?
Yeah, goes to Coast City.
And she's in her club for the first time, and she meets Cameron Chase, or Cam as she goes by, and ends up going back to her place. They spend the night together. There's some flirting and whatnot. This is her first real relationship, and she talks about how she never understood that she could like both boys and girls. She thought it was just one or the other, and she was very confused the first time a kiss happened, and she pushed her away, and she feels dumb for doing that. But they start this relationship, and it quickly sort of montages through it, and it shows that Cameron's really dedicated to her job, so she's always late to things whenever they've got a date of some kind. She's always showing up late, and just when maybe Joe's about to break up because of this, Cameron gets down on one knee and proposes, and she's like, oh, Yeah. Let's do it.
And again, that thought of that we need some restraint, and she goes against that.
Yeah.
You know, she says, "Oh no, I like to move fast," and she accepts. And then the bottom panel is their wedding.
Yeah, and our vows are in blackest day and brightest night, or what? No, in brightest day and blackest day. You know what I mean to say? My brain's frazzled. Anyway, she said the thing. So yeah, things are going well, but Cam's still not showing up on time, and then she just happens to bump into Renee Montoya, who's now working in Coast City as a hotshot detective, and has coffee with her, and there's a little bit of hand holding, but nothing too much. But that night in bed, she gets a text from Renee saying, "Hey, maybe we should have a real drink sometime," and she responds, "Sure." And this was a really good example of those little flashbacks to the color moments coming up, because it was like showing the doubt and the confusion, and she texts back, "Sure," and the next page they're kissing in a bathroom or something, and they're on a couch, and it's like panel with her and her wife at breakfast, panel with her and her mistress in a bed, like just going back and forth, that kind of thing. And the whole time she's feeling guilty, so she wants to confess. So we get a page of her confessing. Cameron pulls off her ring. She holds it up and says, "You're the big zero. You're trying to fill the big zero inside you," and that's kind of something that was brought up at the start. And her saying, "I'm just trying to do the right thing," is from this scene. Like that's where the crying panel comes from. Is this bad day in her life? So they're having their big breakup when she gets the call that her father's passed away. So she goes back to Evergreen and ends up talking to John Stewart, who offers her a job at his plastics.
His architecture firm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be the assistant. And he's like, "Look, just come back here. Just be my assistant. You don't have to work with the cops. Like, you just ignore them."
Yeah. So, because she was so desperate to get out of the town, but he does point out that things aren't as bad now that Guy Gardner's in charge, and says that he's much better. I mean, let's not forget that he kept his head down when all the bad stuff was happening before, but he is much better now that he's in charge. So, and yeah, it's like, hey, this is not a bad place to live necessarily. So that explains how she's back in the town, and obviously she's friends with Hal, she's friends with John, the guy's on our cop on the force. So it sets all this stuff up, it gives us all this backstory, and then the final page is back to that page from the couple issues ago where she's at the door and saying, like, I don't know where else to go, can we talk? And she's like, "You're glowing green," just like stuff that happened in Evergreen, which she knows about because she's part of the DEO, of course. Right. And after everything you show up, what am I supposed to say? Come on in. So she's going to help. So I'm a little frustrated that I don't get to see what more of that conversation is going to be. Yeah, a little bit, but not because this issue wasn't great, because it was great. This was all good backstory that we needed to have. I feel like we know Joe a lot better now, and it's fleshed out Cameron as well a fair bit. Yeah, and I like that Joe is the bad guy in the relationship. Yeah. It is interesting that our main character is the one who did something wrong. Yeah, it makes it a little bit more complex, which is cool.
Very, very flawed, but in that thing where it makes sense why she's the anomaly, right? It's because all these big moments of her life, she almost was like going against what that foundation is, because her and John's conversation when she ends up coming back to Evergreen is, I'm going to pull up the page real quick. John's just like, sometimes I wonder what the foundation of the world's built on, and just says nothing good. And John's just like, then we should find good where we can. And that's kind of what Joe's done, right? Like, she's very flawed. She cheated on her wife. But there's a foundation there. And it's almost like her being able to go through these emotions through her life, right? It was almost preparing her to be the screen anomaly, for this moment, and almost like a thing of fate throughout her life. So, it shows up glowing green, and her ex is like, "Yep, I gotta help," So that was real fun.
Yeah. Although I did sort of chuckle to myself though, because I'm like, wait, she's had the same two partners as Kate Kane. That's a little bit. I was like, just a bit funny to me that we went through both the same two late. And I thought Montoya was leaving for good when she left the town, and I was like, oh, I guess it was just a little flirtation. But then she showed up back up later, and I'm like, oh, she's having an affair with Montoya. Like, what would Kate think about all this? That's all I was thinking.
Wait, has Kate and Cameron Chase been together?
feel they have. No. Oh no, I'm thinking of Maggie Sawyer.
Yes, Maggie.
Oh, okay.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think. I think you're right. I'm thinking of Maggie Sawyer. I'm just thinking of blonde cop lesbian.
You're thinking of blonde cop lady. Yeah.
So, forgive me. I'm mixing up my characters. But that's no. I mean, I think this was a nice issue, and like it still kind of felt like an interlude issue, but not quite. Obviously, a lot more connected and less detached than that last one in space was. Which still had some things going for it, but it was definitely my least favorite of the book, just because it was a little bit harder to follow. This went down so smoothly, and it was interesting finding out about Joe's past the entire time. So, you know, I can't really complain that much, other than just the wait to finally get to like what's after that moment. It'll be 3 months apart by the time we get to it.
Yeah, it's really strange how Joe's been one of the last Lanterns introduced, yet in both her regular origin and this origin, she's already been endeared to everybody, you know? So in this way where she is flawed, yet she took a stand against corruption, and that's ultimately what leads her to becoming a Green Lantern. And that's true in both of these here, right? She takes a stand against Bill Hand and ends up back in Evergreen later. So, but yeah, the character has legs, so it's fun to see her get fleshed out here in this universe a bit.
Yeah, she has arms too and a head. And
you know what I mean.
All the girly bits you expect, I assume.
So yeah, just ask Renee. But yeah, a lot of good stuff. Curious to see where this goes now, because again, it has been a minute. Like I know where it was left off, but it's still I'm like, okay, how are we gonna the whole OS stuff, the stuff with Hammond? Because they even talk about that the cop that left was Mark Shaw, which funny enough that was Manhunter in mainline continuity. He went to go work for Hammond in one of those, you know, whatever. So I wonder if he'll show back in. He'll be part of this whole entire
probably
thing.
Called Manhunter, I assume, at some point.
Something along those lines. So, but yeah, good. Really good stuff. The Absolute universe is a lot of fun.
What do you give it, Absolute Green Lantern?
I'm going to give this an 8.5.
I'm going to go an 8. Apparently, I'm just doing it a 0.5 below you for every book this week, but that's okay. Birds of Prey, issue 27, legacy number 225. Kelly Thompson writing with Sami Basri on the R. So, oops, I'm hitting things on the desk. Pardon me. So yeah, Cass goes into the unseen, into the seam or whatever we're calling it, and
the seam, yes.
The seam, yes. To see with Barda to see if any civilians have wandered in there and to see if any of the Shadow Army are in there. They're not. There is a great full page here where you see sort of Cass like sort of in different locations as she's like jumping down to check things, and Barda just is staying up in the top. Also their AR outfits start to malfunction down here. They start to glitch out, which doesn't even end up being that much of a thing, but it's just something that they established that it won't keep up in here. Cass, however, goes to the person running this game to convince her to stop playing the game because like the Shadow Army are using it. And they even say, hey, this whole game's designed for you to find the seam. Like, I've been there multiple times now. We can help you if you tell me what you're looking for and why you want to find it. And it turns out this woman who started the game, her sister got lost in there, and she's just looking for her sister. So that seems innocent enough, you know, for now. I mean, barring any other revelations. But of course, you know, this whole thing is building up to the Shadow Army releasing a bunch of this gas that will make everyone angry and violent into the crowd of people playing this game so that it will cause enough chaos and also Ink turned out, she was going to betray them the whole time. And it's so obvious that she was going to betray them that I am convinced they were expecting it and they've got a plan, and like that's part of their plan that's going to be revealed next issue. In fact, I was surprised it wasn't revealed by the end of this issue, if I'm honest. Like, I really thought that Babs was going to, like, as soon as Ink started saying, hey, we're here to steal all of your data, right? Because that's the whole thing. Like, this whole thing with the gas and the game's a distraction so they can get into Birds of Prey headquarters and steal all of Oracle's data on everything.
It's the way that Thompson gives the voice to Babs and the way that Basri draws her on. It's the first page where we get Ink, and then it's after the blimp starts dropping the gas. And
she's doing the side eye. She's sort of looking over her shoulder.
Yeah. Constant. And then we get on the bottom of the page, she's like constantly keeping an eye on Ink. And then when we get to that reveal that she let the Damon Prime in, she goes, "Oh no, you've crushed a headset. Whatever will we do?" Like, yeah, I was shocked that we didn't get more of a resolution.
I think it's still coming because they will look like idiots if they just completely trusted her, and like this has completely caught them off guard.
Yeah.
So I'm still expecting it. But yeah, like you say, yeah, there's hints there that Babs is expecting this, and the way she's looking at her, the catty comment she's making, it feels like this was something that was kind of factored in. What probably wasn't factored in is that all the people who are going crazy because of the gas that are playing the game, one of them shoots an arrow up to, and the big cliffhanger at the end of the issue is that Megira slash Canary's sister is impaled with an arrow, and that's the big cliffhanger ending. And she falls off the roof as well, actually, in the last panel. So it's very good because Cass shows up and sees this Archer character and realizes what she's about to do, and she tries to intervene, but it's too late, and the arrow goes up and hits her. Because that's the thing, like the birds actually take out the rest of the Shadow Army team on like the rooftop really easy. Like they just beat the shit out of them. Like they just win within a couple of pages. It's no big deal. But that's obviously again just a distraction because they've got Damon Prime get into the Birds of Prey headquarters.
Yeah, but also the lion guy, Bronze Lion, he's doing this ritual and it ends up being successful, and he smashes this thing. And then it turns everything from the digital world into the real world. And that's why Cass looks over, and sees the arrow going, because it's no longer part of this unreality.
That's right. That's right.
The AR type thing.
Yeah, I forgot about this part of it actually.
There's too many layers, and I love Kelly Thompson. This story though has befuddled me because of all the different layers with the AR and the gas and all this other stuff.
Yeah,
the suits that they're wearing.
Yeah, the AR stuff is definitely been a little bit of a blunder in this arc, I feel like, because the introduction of it was very confusing. We were confused by that whole thing when they started setting it up. And in this moment here, I don't even understand what it means that the AR stuff is now real. Like, it just feels like such a weird, wacky concept to me. And I'm like,
yeah,
surely the arrow could have just been a real arrow, regardless of, like any AR stuff, I guess. But,
Well, and now I understand why they gassed themselves before they went in, because it was going to make them immune to the gas now, right? So they'd be able to do what they need to do. So I get all that. But yeah, here, all of the stuff in the AR and the unreality, this magic. And now we're adding magic to AR. And again, there's just so many of these levels that I feel, had they wanted to, Kelly Thompson could have made it a lot more clear.
I do wonder if this is maybe a little bit of a victim of her being told you're ending at 28 and she's had to squeeze in some extra things that she would have spread out over more issues to set up properly. That's my guess at the current moment, because it does just feel like a little bit I don't know, a bit overstuffed, this arc with stuff. But I mean, the voices for the characters are still great. I still like a lot of the page to page kind of moments for the most part. It's but it probably is the weakest arc of this run, just purely because some stuff feels a little bit like this idea that ARs just become reality is such a big concept, but it feels like it's, I don't know, it just feels like it's a minor thing, to the point where I didn't even even feel like it was necessary for the cliffhanger. Like, you could just have someone firing a real arrow. It's not that wild an idea.
Yeah. I get the vibe that Kelly Thompson's the type of person that wanted to tie all the arcs back together. Right? And then so I feel like this was supposed to be the AR arc. And then whatever the final part of the story was going to be, we would get this whole thing where, where it becomes real now because of the magic or whatever. But yeah, there's so many spinning plates here. It's hard to keep track of them all. And the part that I'm still most invested in is whatever Babs is up to with ink, right? Because that was my hook back in, where I was kind of getting like, okay, this is a lot, but hey, Babs is up to something. And whatever she's up to is probably going to pay off.
Yeah, it's just a little messier than normal for Thompson's style, I would say. Lots of good moments. I still like a lot of the art, right? That page with Cash jumping down and the seam was pretty good. Like, even her interactions with the girl who made the game was well done. All the scenes with Babs talking to Ink are pretty well done. Like, there's a lot of good stuff in here. It's just these bigger concepts are not gelling together. I do wonder if like the AR thing was going to be its own arc, and then there would maybe be an arc after with them helping this woman find her sister or something that would like be like the cappers or I don't know. It does feel like some things got smushed together in the sake of finishing by issue 28, and I think it's maybe made it suffer a little bit, sadly. But all right, what are you giving Birds of Prey, Matt?
I'm gonna 7.5.
I think I will go with just a flat 7. I still think it's good because I still like a lot of the characters and I still think the art's really nice, and it's not like World's Finest where it's like doing silly things that I hate. It's just a little bit not as coherent as I would like in its ideas.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Patreon every month on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. You can make me read a book of your choosing at one of the higher tiers, and this one that we're doing now is one that both me and Mac read, which is Green Arrow, the current run, although we didn't read it at the time. This is us catching up via Patreon, and this is issue 21 of said run. So we've been doing this Clearwater stuff. The last issue ended with
Freshwater.
Sorry, I think I've made that mistake before. Freshwater. And this issue, or the last issue, ended with one of the killers showing up in Oliver's apartment to get him. This issue obviously picks up on that, but not right away. We get a flashback, because all the issues have pretty much started with a flashback, sort of fleshing out the backstory of what happened in that town. And it's this town hall meeting of all the residents yelling at their politician or senator or whoever to do something about this, and basically we get various parents speaking up, and ultimately it builds up to the main mum, because we've been following that one main kid who collapsed in his house, and this mum stands up and says, hey, for the first time in my entire family, I was able to own property. I was able to get this affordable house in this town away from the city. It felt like a dream come true, and then it turns out you're literally poisoning my child. And like all these different kids are all developing different issues because of what's happening with this company and these chemicals that are underneath the houses. Like, we're begging for help, please help us. And it's this really impassioned speech. And then she gets angry at the end when she says she was shaking when she found her son, and it's a whole thing. And it's kind of a cold open that leads into the. I do love how they treat the credit page in this as like almost like a TV show intro, where it comes up saying DC Comics presents. It's like a bit of a needle drop almost. But that's when we go back to Oliver in his apartment, the killer behind him. He flips him over, and Oliver, of course, this killer was not expecting that Oliver Queen is actually a superhero and can take care of himself.
No. I think he's just another businessman that they're putting on ice, right? Like they've gone after the others. Well, mind you, as he's just made chili, because that was what he was doing, talking to Dinah. So, yeah.
He goes through a table, does our killer. And as expected, these killers are all different people who have been affected by this town. We kind of predicted that already from last issue. But this killer does not do that great a job. Ultimately, Oliver wins. There's a good fight scene here. Don't get me wrong. They're struggling around the apartment. Oliver's blocking attacks, that kind of thing. I particularly like when Oliver gets knocked down and he throws a laptop up at him. We get these like panels that are getting bigger going across the page as Oliver dives and tackles him. I thought that was a really nice idea, because it's basically one image spread across
through the window.
Well, we get that in the next page, but like I like the idea that this one image is sort of spread across this sort of stair-stepping panels to make it feel like it's getting bigger as it goes along. And then, like you say, the next page reveals that he's basically pushing him out of a window, but he grabs him, of course, and pulls him back in. And
saves him.
Yeah. So, and the thing is, this guy, he's like, hey, I'm here because you are from Horton Chemicals. And he's like, wait, I don't have that much to do with that. I mean, we know Oliver was there for a brief period, but the guy like pulls out like a contract that was signed by Oliver Queen, saying that they could do, whatever it was on the page. Was it a Horton Chemical authorization to sell proposed freshwater community, and the signature at the bottom is from President Oliver Queen. So as far as this group of people are concerned, Oliver Queen is one of the culpable people as to what was going on here. So I do love the idea that obviously Oliver's going to defend himself, but when it gets down to like, hey, look at this contract, oh shit, I actually like have some blame here. Like, obviously I didn't know what I was signing when I signed it, really, I assume. Like, he probably didn't realize that he was, sacrificing a bunch of innocent families to toxins or whatever, but this guilt is interesting for me because Oliver is someone who always feels guilty.
Right, and he's not on the board with those people up in the flashback in the beginning that have been name dropped so far, right? The senator, all this other stuff. So the fact that his name had somehow, this had gotten across him to sign, but he has no recollection whatsoever, tells me there's something afoot. And then that guy, once he's unmasked, he's in the crowd in those flashbacks, So Tina, he's the one yelling that my son was born with a deformed ear.
Yeah. And for the record, I don't think there is anything afoot. I think Oliver just signed this without knowing full well what he was signing. Yeah. I think that part of it is just probably real, and this is just something he's going to have to reckon with that he had any part in. But anyway, cut to Detective Lady, who's researching freshwater and looking into things. Her partner comes in and makes some jokes about one, the killer's maybe striking again, but they also that like, oh, you're going to go and speak to your superhero boyfriend kind of thing, and gives her some crap for it and all that. But she wants to go to freshwater and check it out from the sounds of it, and even though she won't get back until morning because it's enough of a drive away that it's not exactly that close, but yeah, she wants to go and have a look around. So she's going to go and investigate that, whilst Oliver continues speaking to the guy that tried to kill him and kind of get into the the nitty gritty of it. But Oliver does, once he's calmed down, he's like, hey, I this might not mean much, but like I do want to say I'm sorry for everything you've went through. And he's like, yeah, you are right. It doesn't mean much, yeah, I mean, it's a whole thing. So the issue ends with Detective Lady driving to Freshwater, and we see we see some panels of Freshwater, and there's just a bunch of these people in these like gas masks, like the killer outfits, like standing around the sign that says "Welcome to Freshwater." Yeah. So and this is
the
all
red coats, the red eyes. It's very creepy.
Very creepy, and then all this is playing out as the narrations, like it's this guy talking to Oliver, about why we wear a mask. Like if you do something, if some regular person stands up to a bad guy, it might be in the news for a day or two. People will say, "Hey, that's a good job," but they won't remember it. But you start wearing a mask, and superheroes know this all too well. Is that all of a sudden you're someone that gets remembered. You're now a figure. You're someone that sticks around. So it's this idea that all these victims who are like maybe sick now because they've all been living in Freshwater have all banded together to create like the mystique of one killer that maybe will be remembered and have an impact and like cause some change. So it's interesting stuff.
Yeah, there's that page before that when they're talking that Montos has a all-time layout, right, where they're having a discussion, but there's this silhouette of the gas mask there with the red eyes, the cracks in them, and how they're also showing the reflection of the guy that he's talking.
Yeah, sitting on the ground.
How they wear the mask.
Yeah, next to him. Yeah. So the idea is that this is the one sitting there, and it's sort of behind the panels, in the gutters. So it's a really unique layout. Yeah, it's not too complex, but it's like weird enough really, really that it sticks out. For sure.
Yeah. No. Really like that.
Yeah, it's really good. Now, I like this issue. Like you've got that great opening scene that shows like the development of the backstory, which I've been really enjoying all those scenes at the start of each issue. The fight scene is good. It's really hard hitting. Montos draws a blinder of a fight sequence. It's got good pacing. A lot of it's very silent, like a lot of these fight scenes have been in this book, and it feels very detailed. Something like all the shards of glass when he gets thrown through the window. But then, of course, this idea that like Oliver realizing that he is, that look in his face, the shock of the fact that he signed this, it hits hard that moment, and then that changes his demeanor. Where for the rest of it, he's like, I can't just treat this guy like he's a villain, right? As much as he's trying to do something wrong, he's got some reason to hate me, and I have to kind of, reckon with that. And I feel that in the art and his demeanor in the art between those that first big scene with the two of them, and then the follow up after the detective scene. But yeah, no, real good. So yeah, I do wonder if Detective Lady's going to be in trouble because she's going to Freshwater where all these other killers are, even though she's not responsible. You know, so far all their targets have been people who are directly either responsible for the pollution itself, or the covering it up, or the denying them help. You know, someone in that chain. But regardless, I feel like because she's poking her nose around, maybe she'll get into some trouble.
Yeah, they don't want that because they've said it doesn't end with Oliver Queen, right? This doesn't end until they get everything, too. So you know they are highly motivated.
How high up the food chain?
I did like that reveal that it's not just, that it's not just the one, but it's everybody. It's the community that has come together to put a mask on this, so they can try to get what they think is vengeance or justice or whatever it is, because no one was there for them. I did like that as they're having the conversation. Oliver's like, yeah, but we tried to speak up for you. He's like, yeah, but it didn't do any good. Like you and your newspaper, did absolutely nothing for us. This though, this is power. The mask and scaring the billionaires, basically. That's what's going to get stuff done.
There was a line in the community town hall meeting scene at the start where the mum yells, "Oh, you're just going to get bailed out and nothing's going to happen." And that line particularly hit a nerve because right now, like, there's a lot of talk of this AI, all the spending, and how much of a vacuum that's like sucking up everything, and how the economy's kind of teetering on it, and the fact that prices are going up in a lot of electronics because of AI use and blah 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 blah. And there's a genuine expectation that at some point the bubble's going to burst because no one likes using it. Everyone hates it. The companies are trying to force it down everyone's throat. And yeah. The point I'm getting at though is that when it does burst, and people like some of these companies have invested billions of dollars into AI.
Yeah.
And the thought that the government might bail these companies out when it all goes tits up is like infuriating. And I'm like, no, they should fail. Like Microsoft should absolutely suffer when this all comes to shit. Like they should.
Right. But the ones that end up having to pay the price are the ones that are the most vulnerable. Right.
Oh yeah.
Like the rich get bailed out. They get their golden parachutes. And that's what they were sold, right? Everybody moved to Freshwater because it was a place to raise your kids. It was this hope. It was this American dream, if you will, of a better. And then when it made them all sick, they're like, oh, well, that was your fault for moving there. Yeah. And no one's there to help them, right? But when the community tanked, all those people got their buyouts. They were all fine. It didn't affect them. So,
I guess the point I was getting at is that it was very relatable and it was very relevant to, the world. So, obviously it's a little bit of a different topic, but it just, that line kind of triggered me a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, you bastards getting bailed out. Lots of swearing in my head.
Yeah, and I think this is why this book, when Condon took it over, has gotten such notoriety, right? Because it kind of, to me, that's the type of story that Green Arrow is, meant to take on, right? Because he is the corporate dude, right? Just like Bruce Wayne, except he actually, through the 70s, the whole hard traveling heroes aspect, he was this social voice, so to have Oliver Queen here taking this on now in the 2020s, I think that's why so many people have spoken so highly of this arc and why we're reading it, right? Because, but yeah, it perfectly makes sense for a Green Arrow story.
Yeah. All right. What are you giving Green Arrow issue 21?
I'm going to say 0.5.
I mean, I'm tempted to go to the 9, but I'm going to say 8.5 as well. And I think it's just because from a pacing perspective, it's effectively a couple of conversations, and they're very good conversations, and the art's gorgeous. But it did go in very quick, so that's the only reason why I'm not giving it a 9. But excellent stuff. So yeah, I have another Patreon book to talk about, and that is Gideon Falls issue 5. I've still got a bunch to do for this month. And there's a lot of books this week plus solicits, so I only did the one of my solo Patreon books, but I'll be doing at least a couple of them next week, and maybe one will bleed into the start of December. But this is Gideon Falls issue 5, like I said, and this has been ramping up throughout the issues. The cliffhanger last issue was the sheriff and the priest arriving at this house where the one guy has kind of gone crazy and killed a couple and was waiting for them, and he throws his hammer at the sheriff, so she drops her gun, and he goes for a run past the priest, and the priest tries to stop him, but he like stabs him in the hand and says, "Father, it's it's going to be your time soon, but not yet," and he runs out. So they run outside, and like the wife is dying, but oddly she's like smiling as she dies, and says, "Saw you were inside there," just before she goes, and it's like, okay, that's creepy. Does she mean the house or like the barn? Like, what are we talking about here? But sheriff goes out, and the priest follows her, even though he's told to stay back because he's invested in what's happening. And here, like because the layouts have all been like rectangles and boxes to this point. Once we get to this page where they're in a cornfield, we get these wavy lines, and there's no gutters anymore. It really changes how everything feels. And the reveal on the next page is that the guy's disappeared, the knife has been left behind, but there is a perfect big rectangle in the cornfield, like kind of like a crop circle, but just like a flat, simple rectangle, almost like the sort of thing that might be left if a barn was there, like the idea that this perfect rectangle of a building has just been left behind. So that stuff's super intriguing, and that develops later on as well. Meanwhile, Dr. Zoo is with Norton in his place, and she's still kind of freaking out about everything she's seen, of course. And the art here gets kind of wild, because when she starts asking him about his childhood and when he first saw this stuff and how he thought it was nightmares at first, and then things got weirder, how he tried to hurt himself at one point, which she knew about because it was in his record when he went to a mental hospital. But she said, "Oh yeah, we never really talked about that in our therapy sessions because your obsession with the garbage was always like taking hold." And he's like, "Yeah, but I realized that was the key, that I could do something about the Black Barn." But these pages, though, they really stick out, because once she starts asking about all this, it's like it's went underground beneath the grass, and it's all just black with these red sort of like child drawings of people holding hands, and it's kind of like basically showing a kind of his backstory, but there's also people like hanging from what seems to be nooses. But again, it's like childlike drawings, so it's hard to tell exactly. It's very hard to pinpoint it. Mm-hmm. But this is all the background.
So it looks
gutters.
Like a hangman picture.
Kinda, but there's multiples of them,
right?
And there's like various other things going on. And then the next page is, again, the background's all this black with the red scrawled drawings, but there's like a barn in the middle of it now. So it very much feels like, again, this omnipotent force, this foreboding presence of the Black Barn is just kind of weighing down the entire conversation. But yeah, but like he says, you feel it now too, don't you? These contradictions, like your mind is split in half. You're terrified of the barn, but you're also drawn to it. And she's like, yeah, of course, that's why I'm here. And we kind of like go away from those backgrounds to just sort of this blank negative space. And he sees she's scared, so he takes off his like face mask, which he's basically been wearing this entire book up until this point. And we don't see his face; it's sort of in shadows. But he puts his arm around her and holds her close and says, "I'm scared too." And it's kind of this sort of tender moment between them. It's actually kind of sweet, given how weird all this is. But she's basically like, "Hey, Norton, have you ever been hypnotized?" And that's kind of where we'll leave that scene. So really liked it. Again, the art is just doing like all this wonderful stuff to like really get the story. The sheriff though, it's taken the priest to Dr. Sutton again, the doctor who was in the conspiracy stuff with the plowman and believes in the barn. And they go to speak to him, and he patches up the priest's hand, and obviously he's like, "Oh, this is awful. More people have been murdered." And when the sheriff mentions that the crops have been flattened into this big rectangle, Doc Sutton turns around and is like, "Flattened? You mean like when?" And she's like, "Yes." And the priest is like, for the audience's sake, is like, "What do you mean? Like what? What am I missing here? What's going on?" And the doctor looks at him and says, "She hasn't told you about her brother." And we find out that her brother, when they were kids, went missing, kind of like, Mulder and his sister style. But he just disappeared, and all that was left behind was this big rectangle of the flat, like, crops. So this is just like that. And so, he's like, "Oh, yeah, like, her brother was taken by the barn." And she yells and says, "Stop it, it was not the goddamn barn." And then she calls him dad. The reveal here being that the doctor is the sheriff's dad. So we got, like, a bit of a family kind of squabble in the middle of all this. Yeah, the art here is perfect because the priest is like, Dad? Question mark. And he's like, yeah, she didn't tell you that? Oh, she's embarrassed of me. And she's like, of course I'm embarrassed. You're a goddamn conspiracy nut. Instead of trying to find my brother, you were getting into all this stupid supernatural shit. And she doesn't believe any of it, of course. Do you know how, I think the last couple of issues I was saying how Dr. Zoo having her moment where she saw it was real and then doubting it, but then having the even scarier experience with the guy in the mirror or the TV screen last issue. Her realizing it's real was very like satisfying because it was like, oh shit, she knows Norton's not lying now. I think this sheriff character getting to that point in some way of like finally accepting that all this barn stuff is true is going to be a big deal when it happens, and it might even be soon based on the end of this issue. But this idea of her doubting, the dad though does like Dr. Sutton does like pull out this drawing of the barn and says, hey, your brother left this behind in his room. Or not even left it behind. Like he basically says, hey, this night, the night before he disappeared, he woke me up in the middle of the night and said he was having a nightmare about being trapped in a barn. And I was annoyed at him because I was like, stop, you woke me up for this, to stop being a child, go back to sleep. And it wasn't a pleasant conversation. It was the last thing he ever said to his son before he disappeared. And again, this idea of like the black scratchiness of being underneath the grass, and then like this one like moment of the flashbacks, a red silhouette on the black background is really, really effective. But yeah, he's crying in the present day as he tells the story, and she's like, why did you never tell me this? She still doesn't believe any of this, of course. She gets mad, and the priest steps in and says, hey, maybe we should like just listen to what he has to say. And then she gets pissed at the priest and says, well, you're starting to believe this bullshit? All right, I'm leaving you two. I'm going to go and be a detective. You two assholes, like, you enjoy each other's company. And they get left behind. It's a great frame panel because behind them is just all of the newspaper clippings and all the red string of the investigation. So it just looks like they've been left with a conspiracy. It's a really nice touch. And then we go back to Norton and Dr. Zoo in the city, and this is where the art's just going kind of apeshit, where it looks like Norton's falling through his brain, and then he disappears, and then we just see like red liquid, I guess we'll call it blood, going into water, but inside the water is a city. This sounds weird to describe, but it's like, it's very, dreamlike, because it's in his head kind of thing. But it's like he's fallen into a city that's in the water. Or like the city's reflected in the water, but the city's not there in the above part. Either way.
Right.
And it's like, talking about, he's talking about how this started, can you retrace your steps and, go looking for where you found all this. And notably Norton inside this like hypnotic dream state, his like hair and jacket are red, which they aren't normally. This is all very sort of just expressing what's going on here. But he's like, oh, this is scared. I don't want to go back there. Can I go back to the junkyard where it's safe? And she's like, no, you have to like figure this out. Where are you in this like memory? Or is there any street signs? And he's like, yeah, there's this street sign. But he basically sees a giant door in the sky that opens to a red void. Maybe the door's to the barn, but there's no barn around it. So, I mean, it is worth mentioning the color scheme of these hypnotic pages is definitely a little bit different than normal. There's a lot of sort of muted yellows and greens, which have not really been that much of a color in the rest of the book in any great way. But yeah, so he's like, yeah, this is the place where I came from, and he's like, this is with the door. So that's where we leave that stuff. The final scene of the issue, though, is as the doctor, Doc Sutton, and the priest are like debating what to do. And the priest still isn't really necessarily on board with everything. They hear a gunshot and they go running out yelling for the sheriff. And they hear another gunshot out in the woods. They go running out into the field. And the cool thing here is the panels start to like sort of teeter as if they're falling, which makes it feel like everything's like dropping away. And the last page is this like almost inverted colors, like black and white, like very scratchy, of like a field and like trees at the sides, but there's this like red door void, and you just see like the silhouette of like what looks like a man carrying the sheriff who's unconscious. So someone's carrying her into the barn. And again, you don't really see the barn here, you just see like the red door. So maybe the red door on its own is different from just the barn. Maybe there's a little bit of room there for that to be a different thing. but it looks like a man carrying a woman, and the priest runs in after. It looks like he runs into the red. So it seems like next issue we might, get inside the barn. And then I assume the other thing we'll do with Norton and Dr. Zoo is go to that location that he said he saw in his hypnotic state, the place where he quote unquote came from. So a couple of big cliffhangers here. It is interesting, like how separate we're keeping the two plot lines. Like we've got two sets of characters. They're obviously both related to the Black Barn, but when and if they intersect, and again, I'm still not convinced they're taking place in the same time period. They could be like decades apart for all I know. I am fascinated to see how they eventually intersect in some way. But yeah, obviously a lot of big stuff here. The whole because it makes sense all of a sudden why this doctor's so obsessed with the Black Barn when you find out his own son went missing and he suspects this barn has something to do with it. It's like, okay, that makes complete sense. The skeptical daughter grew up to be a sheriff who focuses on what she can prove, and that gives her comfort because her dad's obsessed with stuff that can't be proven and it's all mystical. All of those relationship connections make complete sense, and then the art of the issue is just awesome stuff. Now, from an ethereal kind of horror standpoint, I don't know if any moment in this lives up to the scene from last issue where Dr. Zoo sees the man in the barn turning to look at her. Like, that was creepy as shit. But this is very, very good still, and it's developing the character stuff quite a bit. And that sweet moment with Norton putting his arm around her was quite nice. So, still very, very good stuff. Solid 8.5. Digging the story quite a bit. So, I'll be back to that very shortly, because I'm doing 2 of those a month. So, maybe even next week. So, that is Gideon Falls issue 5. All right. And that will take us on to the final part of the show, where we pick our favorite stuff of the week, favorite panel/moment, favorite cover, favorite art, and of course top 5 books. So Matt, what is your panel/moment of the week?
Okay, so I would love to make it from Nightwing, right? Of that whole reveal of Olivia Pierce and that whole shred, right? But the page in New Gods that really spoke to me was Scott Free describing what pain is, right? And how it's a state of existence, and Desaad will never know what that is. It's not a box to check. That just really resonated with me. A close second to also from New Gods was that page of Orion and Scott Free, the Phil Hester art. I thought that was super strong as well. But yeah, that one's mine.
Yeah, I'm torn between 2 things myself. I'm torn between the Olivia Pierce reveal in Nightwing. I think that's an obvious pick, but also Wonder Woman's not getting on her knees and punching Mouse Man. I think those are my 2 moments of the week for sure. I can't remember a time when I've had 2 that are fighting this neck and neck in my head, because I love both of them dearly. Yeah. I think I'm going to go with the Wonder Woman scene. Because I expect I'm going to be giving Nightwing some love elsewhere. So I'm going to go with the Wonder Woman scene and leave it there. Yeah. So that's cool. For cover of the week, there's a really cool Sampere cover for Superman Unlimited, with Superman just flying kind of in profile, and Crypto's there as well. It's just a really nice image. Not much more to say about it than that. New Gods cover's solid. The main cover for Wonder Woman's solid. Also Sampere with the Wonder Woman with a bunch of mice. For me though, I think I like the main cover of Nightwing, but the variant by Dustin Wynn actually is the one that caught my eye the most this week. Nightwing's kind of sort of diving upside down, which means his logo's upside down, but his arms kind of make the Nightwing logo in a weird way, with the sticks out as well. So it's a really nice sort of trippy kind of circular page with the city kind of around them, as if we're looking up, kind of. So that's my pick for cover of the week. What's yours?
So I am a big fan of that Superman Unlimited with Sampere, with Crypto and Superman. And then I like the New Gods main cover, right? Because it's got Orion putting the helmet on with, that portal thing behind them, and then Scott Free in the in that crook of the staff of High Father, and it's just a very well composed image. But I'm gonna go with the main Nightwing cover just because the orange and the blue here complementing each other with
that's nice
because it's not quite the red that we get in the book, right? But yeah, just the blue and the orange complementing it's really good. That's my pick.
Yeah, fair. All right, art of the week. What you got?
This one's tough because I still am not 100% if it's going to be Wonder Woman or Nightwing.
Yeah.
Sampere's always good. You know, there's a lot of good moments in there. However, the way that Nightwing was paced and a lot of the reactions there, I really want to make it soy. So this is the tough one because both artists are very consistent. But however, I just think for the way that it made me feel this month, I got to give it to soy for Nightwing.
Oh, it's tough. I think I'm going to go with Nightwing as well. But it is between those two again. Like, I'm really torn between them. And then not to count out, you know, Hester and Cagle on New Gods or even Gutiérrez on in World's Finest. But I do have to go with Nightwing. Sorry.
Yeah. Lucas Meyer on anything would usually get me to talk about too, but it was just real hard between Sampere and Soy.
Yep. All right, and then we got top 5 books, and just keep in mind here we're only including the books that came out this week for this, which is why, because otherwise I may have mentioned Miyazawa for art on the Batgirl or even Jiménez on Batman, but regardless.
And there was some great covers from those two because I just went to go take a look.
Oh yeah.
That we couldn't pick.
I'm sure. Right? Oh yeah, Batgirl's cover was gorgeous.
All right. Yeah. So number 1 is going to be Nightwing. 2 is New Gods. 3 is Wonder Woman. 4 is Superman Unlimited, and 5 is Absolute Flash.
All right. My number 1 is Nightwing. My number 2 is Wonder Woman. My number 3 is New Gods. My number 4 is Superman Unlimited. 5 is Absolute Flash. That was pretty similar to your list, I think, but that's fine. That's okay. But yeah, there you go. That's our top 5s of the week. I will now tell you what's coming next week from DC Comics. So next week we have Absolute Batman 14, Absolute Wonder Woman 14, Detective Comics 1103, Superman 32, DC KO issue 2, Justice League Unlimited issue 13, The Flash 27, Green Arrow 30, Green Lantern 29, Immortal Legend Batman issue 4, Batman Green Arrow The Question Arcadia issue 1, looking forward to that one, Harley Quinn 56, Justice League vs. Godzilla vs. Kong issue 2 issue 5, Trinity Daughter of Wonder Woman issue 5, and DC's I Saw Ma Uncle Kissing Santa Claus. Okay, so that's next week's books.
Yep.
Also worth mentioning, obviously we don't do every book that's coming out, but worth mentioning that we will be talking about JSA from week 1. We'll be talking about what else did we not put out yet from week 1? Whatever else we didn't do will be out next week. Superman Book of Kal-El was one of them for sure, and there was another one that I'm forgetting. But those will be in next week's episode as well. So yeah, that is us. Thank you very much for joining us, everyone. This has been what is bound to be a very long episode, but once I edit in a couple of things we already recorded, this is probably a good 3.5 hours or so long. So hopefully you enjoyed the beefy episode, even though it usually means it goes up later for patrons, but that's okay. The later the longer is the usual the mantra. But that is the show. We'll see you again next week. You can support everything by going to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV or by becoming a YouTube member if you're on the YouTube channel and supporting us by becoming members there and getting a couple of bonuses. We're doing an exclusive Batgirl Year 1 review that we're doing monthly. And something else will replace that once that's done, of course, and you get to vote once a month. The vote is up right now for the Patron's Choice issue for next month. There's no issue 1s, but you can choose between issue 2 of Poison, Harley and Ivy, Life and Crime, issue 2 of Night Fight, and then of course the next issue of Batgirl from the Cassandra Cain series, which is issue 3, I believe. So those are the options.
I know what I'm rooting for.
Yep. I already know how it's going, and it's very close between 2 actually, but it's I trust anyone who's a patron to go
Pete's
vote.
sweating it out.
Oh, I'm still the sweat happening for sure. But yeah, go check out all that, but mostly help support the show, make sure it keeps coming and all the rest of it. But that is us. Thank you very much for joining us once again. We do appreciate it. Keep reading DC Comics, and remember to never get lost in the Speed Force.